The Swell Season Podcast is recorded by the NewsStand studio at Rockefeller Center in the heart of Manhattan and is distributed by the Swell Season Surf Radio Network.
Solo voy con mi pena, sola va mi condena. Correré mi destino para burlar la ley. Perdido en el corazón de la grande Babilón. Me dicen el clandestino por no llevar papel. Pa' una ciudad del norte yo me fui atrás.
Hello, and welcome to the Swell Season Surf Podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Brewer. In early November 2002, I and two other friends had been driving along the Basque coast of Spain when we arrived late at night into the dark and narrow streets of Mundaka. The name is synonymous with one of the most perfect left-hand river mouths in the world, a magnet for goofy foots the world over. We were lost. We were looking for the youth hostel. The streets were empty, except for a small group walking along the sidewalk. We pulled over our Peugeot 206, rolled down the windows, and attempted to ask where the hostel was in our broken Spanish. The group looked confused, as if they couldn't understand us. One of them asked if we spoke French, and we said no. And then the group started to speak amongst themselves, in North American accents, speaking English. It was a hilarious encounter, and we were both foreigners and made assumptions about each other. And that was my first encounter with Tyrome Tripoli. Tyrome is an artist, designer, metalworker, glassblower, and a shit-hot goofy foot. Originally from LA, Tyrome moved to Brooklyn in 2003 and currently resides among the creative community in Bushwick, where he founded Gallery Petite, a contemporary art gallery on Troutman Street. When he's not creating and spending time with his family, you can sometimes catch him streaking across the Surfline cam on 90th Street. He is currently featured in the latest Surfer's Journal, written by New York native Michael Machemer, and he is our guest on this episode of the Swell Season Surf Podcast. Tyrone, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Super stoked. We are chilling in the surf studio today in Rockaway, and we definitely we were hoping to score some waves, but
doesn't look so great out there.
doesn't look promising, does it?
Yeah, when it's over 21 knots, you've got to think, But I love your description of how we met, and I'll never forget that, because that's such a common experience. You're somewhere, you barely speak the language, and you're like trying to figure it out. And I remember that moment where we went through like Spanish, French, and then I were talking to our friends like, I don't know what. That's weird Spanish. I don't know where they're from or whatever we said. And then we look back at you, and your eyes are like bigger now, being like, whoa. Like you knew who we were, and then like we had this like eye contact. It's like, what the hello?
Yeah.
Hello.
You speak English. Oh, where are you from? We're from California. We're from New York.
I know. It was so great because like the Basque, they're not.
They're
like
not.
that, okay. And they even if they speak
stoic.
English, they're not going to speak it to you.
No.
And like. And you do that all over. And then when you like in Indonesia, like deep in Sumbawa, Mona Lisa surf camp, and then someone shows up and you just look at each other and you can't tell by looking like what language do they speak. And as soon as they open their mouth, you know where, oh my God, I haven't heard an LA accent in like 2 years.
Know.
It's like so much fun. Like finally you can relax and just fucking talk.
I know, and not feel like, all right, how do I communicate? All right, do I use hand signals?
I use it all.
It was classic. And then like, we spent like a good couple weeks in Mundaka. I mean, you spent longer, I think.
Months.
You spent months there. You guys had like an apartment,
We did. Oh my God. It was not an apartment. It was a Basque beautiful Basque villa,
Sick.
and it was furnished. It was 8 bedrooms, I think. Big old kitchen, 3 bathrooms, and it was furnished with all this beautiful old like carved Basque furniture. It was an amazing place, and we're like, $600 a month? Are you serious? We're like, what's the catch? What's the catch? Well, we figured out what the catch was. There's no heat.
Yeah.
Okay. And they only
Going
really rent
into
it out
winter
in the summer because it's a summer spot. Okay. But yeah, the surfers in Mundaka for the winter. So we were like, oh my God, it was so freaking cold. We were like filling up hot water bottles and putting it in the bed to heat it up. And we had like 10 wool blankets. But, you know, we got through it. But the best part was that balcony. You know, the little harbor in Mundaka, and it goes all the way into a tiny little beach where the old guys hang out with the colorful boats, and they heckle each other. One's painting the boat or standing in, they're all heckling each other. And then you have that beautiful Basque villa that has 3 levels with a freaking rose bush that is seriously 40 feet tall. It goes up all the way up to the top. Well, we were the top balcony with the rose bush. We couldn't go out on the balcony. Every time we did, there was a tourist or somebody taking a picture. Yeah, and it was just like it was like seriously beautiful, like so picturesque, that little spot, you know. And then we put it out to all, because we were there for 4 months. We got it in September, and we had it until like January, February, and then we went to Morocco.
Yeah,
and had that whole experience, But really, like, being there was such a cultural experience. Like, it's seriously another world. It's not Spain. It's the Basque Country, and they're like an ancient people. They're really interesting, and the whole thing was a beautiful experience. I mean, especially with the villa, we invited all our friends from all over the world to come stay with us because we had so many rooms, and it was such a fun party. And I remember this about that balcony with the rose bush. My friend did his wash, and then he went on the balcony and hung all his clothes. Okay. And I'm like, dude, you're ruining the picture op for all these people. He's like, I don't give a shit. I go, well, I do. And he's like, seriously, dude? And it turned into this big argument.
No.
It was actually kind of laughable. And I think in the end, I fucking pulled his stuff off the balcony, and I kept it in the sun in the living room. Like, come on. Like, I don't know. I'm a visual artist. Those things make sense. Like,
the aesthetics are very important.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly. And we had the best Thanksgiving ever because I had a bunch of friends from America come. And then, of course, Mundaka is a full-on international surf spot. So you've got, everyone. I mean, we had friends we met people from Japan, Brazil.
Well, you had that hostel.
Australian.
That hostel was like fairly new too.
Oh, the hostel was brand new.
Yeah.
In fact, they just opened that season, I think, and people didn't really know about it. And you were coming from a different direction. You know, when you were lost, you were coming from the backside.
Yeah, I know.
You know,
exactly.
Which is like way more tricky.
Deep. We got so deep in Mundaka, and those streets are spooky
so
at night.
Narrow
and spooky,
and you can't turn around. Yeah, and you're like cornered. You know, but yeah, that Mundaka is a wild. It's an ancient city.
Yeah.
Like I think it goes to like 1,000
easily.
Like it's 1,000 years old. Like that's really trippy.
It's stunning, and then I remember seeing you surf, and like holy fuck, man! Like just seeing you. I have this vision of you on a beautiful left at Mundaka, just charging through some barrels. Like, I was like, oh, this guy can surf too. Okay.
Oh, man. I guess I stand out because I really do press on the accelerator. I want to fucking go as fast as I can.
Yeah.
Always. You know what I mean? To me, that gliding and flying is just the most sensation, like the best ever, right? Like, you don't even have to do a trick, just like racing down the line. And you know what? Mundaka is a fast barrel. In fact, like, I'm not sure I even made it all the way through. Like, no matter how fast I went, that third or fourth section was still so closey. It wasn't closing out, it was peeling. But you know what? I figured out the problem with that wave is you can't get deep in the barrel. Like it's like a shallow barrel because I think it's rebounding off the break wall.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you've got, as soon as you get in the barrel and you're riding the barrel, the trap door almost like sucks you. So you have to stay in front of it. And if you get too deep, you're not coming out of it.
You have to get those sections. You know, you get deep barrels by section, not by stalling and like, you know, you're driving through sections.
You're racing through those sections. And so I remember this one wave, and I kept not making that last section. The like there's like a fourth section. You can get like 3 or 4 barrels, and I never connected it all the way through, and I don't think I never made it past that last section. And there was one wave. It was like a big day, right?
Yeah.
And the crowd wasn't much of a problem, and I remember just like really having fun getting waves. Most of the time, the locals and the crowd, and it was just like it was too much.
It's hectic.
Too much. Yeah, it's so hectic. And it's a tight takeoff spot, but it does like close out, so you get a lot of shoulder hopping too.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait a minute, I made it, and like, and so,
Couple times coming around the corner, and there's
exactly,
someone,
exactly. So
there.
that corner at the end where you're really high speed, and it was always like, am I gonna go for this or not? Like maybe this is the one I'll make, okay? And then I'm like going, and I'm like, and I decided not to, and I kicked out over the wave, but of course I kept watching it go from behind, and I'm watching it. I'm like, oh my god, that was makeable. I was so bummed, like, because you don't know. Like I've been going for that the whole time and just getting pounded and not making it, and then I watched that one from behind. I'm like, oh fuck, I guess that
You'll
could've
never
been
know
the
if you
one.
don't go.
And I felt like the whole time I was there for 4 months that I should have been surfing not off like the end, where the wave starts, or the indicator where everyone's trying to paddle and like get the longest wave. But really, I met a couple of the locals that were way down the line. Like they were hanging out on that 4th section, and that was the wave there. That like they're getting scraps, and you know what? Like I think that might have been the answer to having a better time in Windaka was to not surf in the crowd, but to like that last 3rd and 4th section. But I don't know, live and learn. Like every wave is different, and really that's kind of a difficult wave, to like make
To
like
read.
Yeah. I feel like it's I think it's that break wall, and you can't really get that deep without like getting swallowed by the monster ball in the back. But like I surfed a spot called Red Bluff in Western Australia, and that's another like epic left that I had to go and surf. And I actually timed it perfectly with a swell, and these guys like hang out there the entire summer.
Yeah, they just wait.
Yeah, and it's called a station. It's like 1 million hectares, and the guy's not even a surfer, but he knows it's a great wave, and so he lets the people like camp out, and they have the most beautiful camps made of driftwood in the side of a cliff and sand caves, and I'm like, wow, that place is really amazing. And I feel like I really got that wave down. Like it also has 3 sections. It's way cleaner. It's a reef. It's a volcanic reef, kind of like shallow, and but you walk out to the point and you jump off where it's deep, and then you paddle out into it, and it's way cleaner and like I don't know, it's more straightforward. But like you take off, you're in the barrel, and you can it's like a feathering barrel. It's not like a gurgling square barrel, and it's like a high barrel where you're going. It's like you're not doing turns and hitting the lip. It's not rippable. It's more like down the line, which I like. And but the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd connection, like when it got big, connected all the way through, and now I'm like getting my 7-8 second tube ride that I was fucking stoked on. And it wasn't like every single time. I think I made it through like 2 or 3 times, but like that 3rd section, it would kind of shut down on you, and it was hard to make. But like that was like way more straightforward, and I felt like I got the wave the best it could. But I felt like surfing Mundaka, I didn't get the best wave that I could. And it was like, and then the locals, and every time someone's shoulder hopping me, that freaking jerk off that was assigned to me, you know what I mean? And that was an inside joke with all the other foreigners, because we all had a different local that was actually, seemed like it was assigned to us. Like no matter what they would do, they would interrupt what they're doing just to jump on your wave, to fucking shoulder hop you. They actually like would roll their eyes like, oh, I got to take off on this guy again. He's not allowed to surf the peak. And I was just like, fuck that guy. And then I found out later he was on the cover of some surf magazine in this gaping like Mundaka barrel, stand-up barrel. And I'm like, and the problem is like I ruined my whole time, 4 months in Mundaka, because my very first session in Mundaka, it wasn't epic, but it was really low tide, so it was really heaving off the takeoff spot. And this guy kept taking off and fucking barely making the takeoff, and then definitely not making the wave. And so the third time I fucking took off on him, you know, and he didn't make it. Okay. And I freaking raced it my fastest. And I made it a little further, but didn't make it. So after that, he was assigned to me. And he was only he would take off on me. Okay. And he wouldn't take off with the other foreigners. And every foreigner had a different local that would be taking and like going out of their way to shoulder hop you. And like, to me, those are just fucking baby games. And I was just like, I got so frustrated there. I'm like, oh, like I kind of made I this kind of pact with myself that I'm not going to like pursue these epic surf spots that are world renowned all over the world, because that's how it happens. Like, it's just
and
too many
people. And that's why you moved to Rockaway.
Yeah, there's
that's
too many people and not enough waves.
Rockaway.
And then you get like, and these guys didn't like grow up with localism. They fucking read it, and I think, or they was brought to them by foreigners, because it was just like.
Well, I mean, to be honest, I do think the Basque have had a, you know, I mean, the ETA, you know, you had ETA, the organization. And they've always been battling outsiders, so it's kind of in the culture, maybe, you know.
Seasoned experts,
it's in the
so
culture.
Good at it. There's like
it's in the culture, man.
Yeah,
it's deep ingrained.
Because usually it's one guy and he's snaking everybody, but this was more organized. Each one was signed to a different foreigner, so we all got terrorized, like, because it was relentless. Even when we weren't surfing, that local would be like glaring at you from across the plaza, eating his fucking Papa Brava or whatever. Like, it was actually like became laughable. But my partner at the time was just like, "Oh, there he is, there he is, he cute." And he was just a kid. He was a good surfer, but like, kind of ruined it for me.
Well, one of the things I remember from that time, though, were these found art pieces you were putting together. You know, and you started like collecting rubbish off the beach and started putting these beautiful little figurines, almost, I would call them, together.
Yeah. And
they were stunning. And what's interesting is that has really blossomed into a whole body of work for you, you know, from that point on. I mean, and I don't know how much longer you were doing it before, but where did you start to do that? When did you start to play with those found objects? Because I found those pieces to be amazing and beautiful. And it's interesting. Like, I've seen other people do versions of it, but like yours, like, there's something about them that they feel compact and they feel puzzle, like a jigsaw. They're just, the pieces fit really nicely together.
Yeah. You know what? Like when did I start collecting objects and making stuff? For as long as I can remember, you know, but growing up, I was born in LA, and so Yorba Linda, let's say, I grew up with like every kind of fruit tree you can imagine, you know. And even though like my dad would drive us to Newport Corona del Mar like in the summer, and we would surf, but like up until 7 years old, I was like, I had the fruit trees, you know, and so I was in nature. I was building forts, and like, you know, eating fruit off the trees, like racing down hills on the big wheels, you know, on dirt roads and stuff. And like I was the one like kind of always, you know, making like a little, you know, making stuff, like whether it's on the beach, like I started collecting like pieces. My dad collects driftwood and stuff like that. And so my mom is a painter. And so like working creatively was really just always a natural thing for me, whether I was collecting objects and putting them together, making a driftwood shelter to shelter us from the sun in Baja, or even Montauk. You walk from ditch an hour, like it's no man's land. It's beautiful. And like I just, it's not nervous energy, but like I kind of, you know, if I get bored, I'm drawing, I'm doodling, I'm making stuff. So I've always collected and kind of growing up and cruising around with my mom as like a really little kid. She'd go to antique stores, and she was an antiquer, and then she'd do these faux finishes. And like, I'm like, okay, Mom, I'm going to go explore and look for stuff. And then like, whatever it is. And I love looking for salamanders and frogs, or like, a little lily pad or a trippy little pot or seed or this or that or a snake skin or, and so that was nature, and the found object was natural objects. It doesn't matter to me. It's almost like form and potential that inspires me. And so when I moved to the beach, it turned into like stingray eggs and like going out into the hills in the Irvine property. Now it's all houses and stuff between Laguna and Corona del Mar. And so this is the 80s now, and I'm still like, Corona del Mar, there's fruit trees, right? There's sun, and I'm still like going down the alleys, and I knew where the plum tree was and the peach tree that hung over into the alley. So I was like, still kind of living that, you know? And so like, but like as now I'm like maybe 10 years old. Okay, there's Little Corona. Okay, that's the beach I pretty much grew up on. That's where I learned to surf, like in the 70s. My first board was a Clear Spirit, a 6.0 diamond tail single fin. And that was like, the gunny single fins coming out of the longboard, and just before like twin fins, right? And so Corona del Mar, Little Corona was an amazing spot. And they actually blocked off the gully would always replenish the sand for that little beach. Well, they blocked it off for some reason. And so the sand wasn't replenished. And then in the 70s, we had these macking like hurricane swells, I call them New Zealand swells because they're coming from Southern Hemi. And it was freaking humongous. Like when it got big, Little Corona was a little bit out of control. Like you're getting sea urchins in your foot, you know what I mean? But you had a right reef and a left reef. And so those big old swells, like this is like I'm 10 and 11. So I surf, but not when it's big. Then I take out the boogie board and I'm like charging, but like, so when I wasn't, doing that, and it was like, I started, anyway, there's a whole local crew in Corona del Mar. Okay. And the sand started getting eroded away in the beach. Okay. And as it did that, it started, and these waves are huge and they're washing up on the beach and they're pulling the sand back. And as it pulled the sand back, I remember this as a little kid, all these coins would show up on at the shore, and like a gold ring and all these treasures, and people were freaking out. It was like a frenzy because the sand, like a couple of these swells, after a while, as a kid, it started washing away the beach, okay? And as it did that, this was a beach from the 20s where people would go from LA and they would go down to Newport and Corona del Mar before the jetties were made. And that was like the summer kind of hangout spot. So people had been losing their coins and their aviator wings or gold rings. I have a huge collection of like jewelry, like 500 Mercury dimes, Benjamin Franklin $50. Like I have cigar boxes full of all these treasures and I was just a little kid. The locals were like older guys. Okay. And there's a written law. You don't tell anyone what you're doing. Okay. And you would sit there, you're like digging for gold. You would sit there for fucking 4 hours and you would read the ravines of the stone. Okay. And then the water's receded, right? It's low tide, and all this new bedrock is exposed, okay? And all the heavy metal, like gold and silver and all the coins would sink down into the crevices, okay? And then you would what we call bonanza. You would start digging just in the raw sand, right? And you don't know. And then you'd start digging, and then you'd start pulling out like rusty nails, tons of pennies, and like, oh my God, holy shit, like I got it. And like, once you hit it big, like none of the other people could dig in your hole. You know, and you're like, this is my hole, and it's gonna go towards there. I'm digging there. You defend your hole.
I'm excavating.
I'm excavating, and I'm obviously going that way. I found it. It's mine. And you stake your claim. And like, I got respect. Even though I was a little kid, I was really into it. And then when the tourists, if it was stormy and stuff, you didn't have tourists. But if it was a nice day, and sometimes it would be diggable for a week or something, and then the sand would kind of fill back in a little bit. And tourists would be like, what are you doing? And our answer was, no. We say, we're digging for coffee bean shells. Coffee bean shells, they're worth money, right? And they're
Really?
really hard to find. You find them more in Hawaii, and you would have one just to show, oh, they look like this. It was so funny.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, coffee bean. It was this whole culture that I grew up with, and like I think that. Okay, right there, finding those treasures. Like to me as a kid, that was my fantasy, to be a pirate and find a treasure. And like I lived that, you know what I mean? And I still have that collection, and it's an amazing collection. But I feel like there's times in my life where like collecting is more than just, you know, getting an object and being material, but it's like it's kind of this experience, right? Like you're hunting for treasures, you know, and so that was like. Then, you know, I was in Corona Del Mar for like another through high school and stuff. And then you're doing school, you know, I was always really, really into art, and I did well with art. It was easy for me. I have an overactive imagination.
And your mom was an artist.
Oh
said.
yeah. She never stopped.
What sort of medium was she working with?
She's an oil painter.
Nice.
You know, I mean, she's both acrylic and oil, but she's never shown. She doesn't sell her work. It's strictly like paintings. She's done hundreds of them, or God, probably a couple of thousand by now. And, you know, as a kid, she always, as long as I can remember, she had a canvas up and she was painting, and she's still like that, whether she made her own clothes in high school, and they're freaking cool. She still makes her own clothes. She was on cheerleader. She was a cheerleader. Both my parents grew up in San Francisco, and born and raised. And so my mom was a cheerleader, designed and made the cheerleading outfit. So she's always really creative. But as soon as it turned into work, and my dad be like, oh, you should commercialize off that, and you could sell that, you can make a living doing that. My mom would be like, I'm not interested in it anymore. You know, like it was really about respect. Yeah, it was really about flowing creative energy. It was nothing more than that. You know, it was just she enjoys it, and it's a part of her life. She cooks the same way, like every time it's different, but always amazing. You know, and I think making art it's more about a process than the end result. And I feel like a lot of people don't really realize that it's not about the end product. It's not about if you like it or you don't like it, it's well received, you have an audience, people pay lots of money. That's all extraneous, you know. Well, it's for you expressing yourself in the world and sharing it with other people, and then we die.
Well, that's like the conversation I had with Emilio. You know, we talked a lot about like how he goes into schools and you know, he answers questions from kids, and their first questions are, how do I get a gallery? You know, and how do I get, you know, representation and all that sort of stuff. And it's like, he's like, no, it should be about the process. It should be about just creating for creating's sake, and all the other stuff that comes with it is fine. You know, that's the thing. Like being an artist is, you know, your first priority should be to yourself and your creativity, as opposed to, you know, what other people are going to think or what critics are going to think. Yeah,
absolutely.
You know?
If you want to make real art, that's how it's made. It comes like deep inside you, and the whole trick is like listening to your inner gut and going forward with it. You know, it really is a personal thing, and I think that's important. And you know, we live in the information age, right? And it's like, I think it's harder and harder to hear your heart song.
Yeah.
You know, and it's really important, because if you're gonna really truly express yourself, that it has to be that, you know, it has to be exactly who you are. But how do you know who you are when there's so much noise in the world? And oh yeah, sure, you meditate and you clear your mind, but like, holy shit, my mind's clear when I'm on a wave. You know what I mean? I'm not. My mind is not wandering, and my mouth is not blabbering. I'm fucking like, what do my friends say? It looks like you're hunting, like you're a predator. I'm like, I guess so. That's the kind of focus it takes. Like, dude, this ball of energy traveled thousands of miles. You think it's easy to catch? You know what I mean? And then you got to drift, and you know what I mean? Like line up with the house where there's a sandbar, like, you know, it takes a lot of focus.
It's primal.
Yeah, it's right. Yeah. And I think it takes you to that primal state of like, it's kind of survival. And I say, I always, when I do metal work, right? And it's very physically taxing, as surfing is, but it's on my time, after doing it for 40 years or whatever, like I do it mindfully. Like I'm using my body. You have to do it correctly or else it's your time is limited, and as you get older, there's more and more maintenance to accomplish that, but I'm cool with that. Nothing stays the same. Like I want to do this, and I think it's,
You good? Get that mic close to you, man.
Oh, sorry.
Let me ask you that. Like, what did your dad do then?
My dad was incredibly creative, just as my mom.
Yeah.
He made great art. The thing is, he got kind of swept up in making a living, really. Chasing money and women. He made art because it felt good. And then when it came to like the responsibilities of raising a family, but still keeping who he is, something had to give, right? And I kind of felt like it was the art making, and really the problem was he put too much pressure on himself that he's like most people do, like these artists that you're telling, Emilio talks to their kids, like, I'm only going to do art if I can make it in the art world. I can sell my work. Otherwise, I'm not going to waste my time. And to me, that's like so weird. Yeah. It's like you're not going to let this person out unless the you know what I mean? Yeah. It's kind of like, why are you doing that to yourself? And I'm like, you shouldn't be doing this then. But really, like, I use art broadly for like just working creatively, and anything can be art and anything can be personal expression. You can express yourself through any medium. It could be food, music, paintings, sculpture. Like, it's up to you, you know? And I've had this conversation with my kids growing up, and my son would be like, he goes, well, Daddy, could like sitting on a bench be art? Yeah. I'm like, absolutely. And you'll know it when you see it, And so it's like, the problem is, Tyler, okay, this thing called an art career. Yeah. Okay. The art career is like, it's a real thing, because we still eat and we got to pay for our space. Like, we need to make a living somehow. And of course, to do it with something you love is the ultimate, and, but I kind of been noticing that, like, it's just important to make the art, to work, to be creative. Yeah. And it's like, and it's only something you made, okay, until you share it. Now it's art because it's not yours, and they can say what they want about it. They can use it how they want, Now it's art. Put
out into the world.
Yeah, it belongs to the world. Yeah, and everybody could be wrong. They think you made it for this reason, and they're not, right? Because it's no longer yours. So I never want to read the art statement. I don't want my fantasy to be ruined. You know what I mean? I know it's mine, and then people tell me about it, I'm like, don't. And I see that with other people. They don't want to hear, like, the artist can really ruin it for people a lot of time, like telling them how they made it, where they made it. And it's like, oh, I thought it was more special than that. So I think the artists that keep their mouths shut and just let people have the experience with their work is really on the right track. And I also think that artists that like get over having to make a living by their art and like make their living somehow that doesn't consume them, and it's enough to make a good living, and you still have enough of energy and time to do your creative process and express yourself that way. Those are the happiest people that I see. I have friends, they make a living off their art and they do really well, and they're kind of stressed, right?
Tortured artists.
They're worried. Well, in either direction, on either pole, it could be tortured, right? Yeah, and you're only in harmony for a second in the middle, which is boring.
And we will be right back. And now, back to our show. So I want to get back to the found work that you've done, though, that I was introduced to in Mundaka,
Yeah, well, the timing of that was critical, right? Because like as like a creative person, and I love exploring and finding, really, and then like having that experience at like 10 all the way up through high school of digging in the rocks and finding real money treasures, you know, but I wasn't making art out of that collection, you know?
No.
And so like, but that's how I grew up, and I always did really well in art. But I'm like, I'm not going to art school. Like I'm always going to do art. I don't need anybody to tell me anything about it. I just want to, you know what I mean? It's just like, it's like going to school to learn how to take a shit. You know, I'm pretty sure I do it okay, you know, and then and I do it how I do it. like it's something natural. And and on that note, I feel like being creative and expressing yourself creatively and sharing it is as important as sleeping and eating, which keeps you alive. I feel like that's peace on earth. That's a happy person, you know, somebody who's well fed, well fucked, and working creatively. I think like, you think they're raping and pillaging? No, they're satiated. And I feel like the one that people don't really like, the fucking is easily, right? And then I can't say that on the podcast. I can,
No, you can say cock, fuck, shit, balls, whatever you want. You know, there's no problem here.
Oh, that's awesome. I do. I think it's that important to like go out surfing is definitely an art form for me. I think it's a discipline, even it's creative. And I think I tell this to artists, I tell surfing, like, you gotta make art even when you don't want to. You gotta go surfing even when you want to. And like, you know, people are like, oh, I'm gonna go surfing this day. I'm like, you don't surf when you want to. You surf when the waves are good.
There.
You know, when it's there.
Especially on the East Coast.
Yeah. You know, such a small window. Like, you really have to be, instead of a week to get it, like in California, you got like 12 hours.
Well, California, you can plan a little bit of your surf. You know, it's like, I always say this, and probably listeners have heard me say this, but East Coast, we're hunters and gatherers. You know, it's feast or famine. West Coast is agricultural surfing. You know, because they can plan around the surf. They know the surf is coming from thousands of miles away.
And they are the breadbasket too. I just saw like some meme about that, like 100% of this and 100% of that comes out of California.
They are, and it's like, you can plan your surf a week in advance because you know that swell is definitely coming because it's coming from the southern hemi, and you can see it tracked through buoys all throughout the Pacific. Whereas here, it goes off the coast and it's going away from you. So, and you never know what it's going to do. So you can't plan as far in advance. You can make tentative plans. You can kind of read the signs, but you have to read all the signals. Right. And, you know, you have to read the footprints almost. And as in hunter-gatherer type of terminology.
It's absolutely true. And I learned that here, living in San Francisco. If it was sunny, okay, that means, and I was on the East Bay, you know, Perchero Hill area. If it was sunny, I'm like, that means it's offshore.
We gotta go surf,
and that means it's gonna be good. And like, I don't even know if there's waves. It's all about the wind there. There is no shortage of wave in Ocean Beach now. Oh my God, it's actually the only spot I've lived at where I'm like, oh yeah, that's actually perfect. Top to bottom, 30-foot face, spitting tubes left and right. Look, no one out. Do you have your 9.0 gun? like tow in with a vest? You know what I mean? Like, it's like Ocean Beach is scary.
Yeah.
So it's all about the wind. When the wind is right, that it's surfable. It's never, I think I longboarded there once and I broke my longboard. And there was no swell. They're calling it 0 to 1. And it was still punchy ass 1 to 3. And then top to bottom, break my board. I'm like, like, what? And then I moved to here. And I'm like, I'm longboarding for days. And it was kind of great because I never really longboarded growing up. I started in college. I went to UCSD in the 80s, graduated in 90. And I got my first Bill Menard longboard in 9.0, and I've been riding his boards ever since. So in San Diego, it gets small enough. La Jolla Shores. You know, but my favorite spot, of course, was Black's. What a great spot. And you got that really good workout to walk down the cliff and almost slide down and kill yourself.
It's your warm-up.
It's a warm-up, exactly. You know? How about like surfing for 4 hours and of course you didn't eat or bring food. And then now you have your walk up. and then it's like hot. I thought I was just gonna die. Yeah, and then you get to the top hill, and I get to my truck, and it got broken into again. Oh, damn, my Toyota truck got broken into, I swear, 15 times. And then I got a car alarm, and it didn't get broken into until I forgot to set the alarm, and it got broken into.
Damn.
Yeah. And they would even steal my board and wetsuit. San Francisco, this truck got stolen. Okay. I recovered it a week later. Okay. This is San Francisco in the Mission. And they took my shell off. Okay. My wetsuit and board was still in the back of the truck for 5 days. No one stole it.
That's crazy.
That's San Francisco. Like you hope somebody's out there with you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's freaking scary. All you think about are great whites and like, am I in the right spot? You know? And it's like suddenly you're in the channel kind of creeping into the humongous peak. Like, God, it gets good out there. It's an amazing wave. And you can surf Ocean Beach like you can surf anywhere. Like there's 3 impact zones. Like,
I know.
Like I would like race across town from my studio, which this is like the 90s, right?
Yeah.
And then as far as like my collecting goes, when I moved to San Francisco just to kind of like actually to resume this relationship that I left after I graduated college. I went on a year-long surf trip in the South Pacific. We could talk about that later, but that was a whole year of surfing, like Tahiti, Hawaii, New Zealand, Australia, West Coast of Australia for 6 months. And I got a job in Hawaii and the West Coast, like Indonesia. It was amazing. But I ended up coming back and I majored in biochemistry. I dropped art. It turned into a double major, more of a minor in art. I kind of like, I did really well. But the whole like art speak and the whole kind of academia in art felt like it was the opposite of what I was looking for in art, you know. And they had a really liberal art program, and like
it can ruin it for you though. Talking about it sometimes.
The art making classes, no matter what, like they always loved me because I always went hard. You know, like with surfing, like the only thing that makes me different is like I go my hardest.
Yeah.
Like it's time to run. I'm not running. I'm sprinting my hardest. Like that's how we surfed in the you know, growing up. And so I do that with art too. And growing up in Southern California and then San Diego, you know, it's not super diverse. People are kind of like out of the same mold, and even though down to earth and really good people, like they're not pushing the envelope of creativity. If something
they're comfortable,
and if something is if something is not like what they know, they're a little bit uncomfortable now, and that's the difference, you know. Like, and I don't know if it's my personality or how I look. I felt like I was kind of like the only time I could really express myself is like and get positive feedback was surfing. There you can hit the fucking lip as hard as you want and people go, yeah. You know what I mean? Like, to me, like, you can go fast as you want. Like, people are like, go harder. You know what I mean? And so I felt like when I got up to San Francisco, I was again working in a molecular biology lab. I was pre-med, so I was like in the VA hospital above Dead Man's.
We gotta just diverge here for a second. What made you want to go into biochemistry? What was that?
Well, you know what? Growing up, math and art were my subjects, right? Like reading and writing, I could really care less, right? It was like, I don't like anything where I got to sit on my ass, you know, and like, you know, like an office job. No way. You can't make me do it. That's why I do metalwork for a living. Like, you're walking from one machine to the next. You're pulling the metal as hard as you can. And like you're sore, like you lifted weights. Like that's what I need to fall asleep at night. You know,
well, it makes you physically drained, you know?
Yeah.
It's a, you know,
I got to burn my energy.
Yeah. And particularly if you're creative and you're using a lot of your brain for being on the computer, doing an office job, like the last thing you want to do is be creative at the end of the day because you've just burnt your brain all day, you know, with something
Nothing
else.
left.
Yeah. And when you're doing something physical, then when you're done, you can devote to the thought, you know, the more thinking, the more, you know, ephemeral that way, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, so I kind of, it was, so find myself in San Francisco. I didn't go up there to find myself, to soul search. That year-long surf trip in the South Pacific was
to San Francisco. Sorry, I just thought it was appropriate there.
Yeah, that trip that I met you, that was even after. Like the soul searching was, and like, what am I going to do with my life? It was that exact question, Tyler. Am I going to do science or art? And because I liked math, science, and I did really well in science, especially biology in high school. And so when I went to college, I kind of, I was from the standpoint of like, you're not learning a trade. Whatever you study is going to be fine. And my sister's husband said, hey, you know what, Ty? Take college as an opportunity to study something that you wouldn't do on your own, to study something you wouldn't do on your own. And to me, it was biochemistry. I loved chemistry, organic chemistry, and genetics, and then the whole art thing. I'm like, you know what? I only needed a few more classes, but it just wasn't important to me, and I wanted to finish a degree, and I loved biology and chemistry. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to drop the double major. And cause I was like biology, ecology, and art. That was going to be my double major. But for the biology, you got to take physics and chemistry. And I was really digging on those classes and the labs. In organic chem, I'd get like high score out of 300 kids, and they were super nerds.
Yeah.
I went to the school where Lewis and Crick did the research on the human genome across the street at the Salk and Scripps Institute. Like, got an excellent education, and that's what the school is known for. And I really love the science, and I'm definitely not going to pick up the journal later.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's why I finished, because I was good at it. And my parents, even though they're both really creative, they're like, yes, Ty, you're really good at art, but it's 1 in a million to make it as an artist. And your parents say these things, and they like ruin you for life.
Yeah.
Like those kind of things resonating in your brain forever. Like, okay, I guess, and of course I'm Sicilian style. Like, so 1 in a million, I'll show you. and I did make a living off my art or working creatively, but it's, I made metalwork my medium of expression. And then I do, like functional stuff like a fence or a gate. In San Francisco there were little mosaic tables, and I started doing, this is in 92, and I actually found myself in San Francisco for relationships.
You're self-trained metalwork too, right?
Yeah.
Like you didn't take a class, you didn't study it, you didn't even like work under anyone. You self-taught yourself.
You want to hear something funny? Listen to this.
This is a podcast.
Well, I did. This is because like I just goes to show, I took a metalworking. I love shop. Okay. Yeah. I mostly did wood shop in high school, but we did plastic shop, plastic fabrication, some really good courses like growing up in high school. And they were still complaining about shutting down the art courses. There's less money in the budget, so we're getting rid of the silk screening class. And we're oh man, but we still had a lot of great art classes. And anyway, so one, I don't know what year, maybe junior year, I took metalworking, okay? And I'm really good with my hands, and I'm really into it. I listen, I want to do this, And so, of course, I did really well on all the projects. I got an A on everything. I was like the best welder. Yeah. You know what I mean? But the teacher did not like me. I guess because I would, I don't know. I was kind of a smart ass sometimes or whatever. But really, what it was, we were obligated to make this project. It was called a slide hammer. It's for taking the dents out of your car.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I could care less about my dents in my car, And it was an old Datsun B210 GX. Yes. Yeah. And I could sleep it was a hatchback, sleep in the back with my board. And anyway, so it was a slide hammer. So you're turning like a hunk of steel on the lathe, and you're making this and this and that. And I make it. And so we had a shop. I had a shop fee for that, like a material fee. It was like $15 or something. And it's just like, I don't have any money. And I'm like, F that. And I asked my mom, like, can you? And she's like, no, F that. I'm like, so I didn't pay. And I didn't pay for my shop bill, I think. And that's not like me. I pay my bills, you know? But like, he was such a jerk all the time. And so anyway, I did well in school. I studied. I did my homework. All through college, I did really well. I got a good GPA. And I've never gotten a D. Okay, in my whole life,
nice.
Except I got
say,
one D, and it was
say
in
that.
I got the worst grade I've ever gotten in my whole life was in mental shop.
No, what?
I was so pissed.
But that's because the teacher was a prick.
Yeah, and he ruined my GPA, and I just thought it was so. I think it's so funny. Like 30 years later, it's been my like. I love metal. It just I can't. It fits my personality, how I work. Right.
Yeah.
With the wood or precious metal like gold, it's like. It's stifling for me. Like, oh, if I fuck up, oh my God.
Expensive.
Or even back in the day when photography, you had to buy film and get it developed. Like, I'd be like, oh my God, can I take this picture or not? It's going to have one last picture on this roll. You know what I mean? And like that to me, I'm not being creative. I'm stifled. You know what I mean? there's no flow.
Yeah.
But with metal, 20-foot length of 1/2-inch solid round rod back in the 90s was $5.
Wow.
I could make a whole table out of that. And it was just like, it was almost nothing. You know what I mean? And to me, that was so liberating. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then like, it's not straight up fine art. I'm making a little table. See, these people have
it's functional.
Like, it's functional. They could justify it more. It's not just a pretty picture or a little thing to go on the shelf. And so when I found myself in San Francisco, I end up dropping the whole biotech thing, and I tried everything. I did sales in San Diego before San Francisco, and I made kick-ass money, and they didn't think I would, but like I actually worked with electrocellular fusion and electroporation like apparatus to like transfect like cells with the genes that you're working on, and it's a way of like perforating the cell so then into bacteria, and then it takes on that genome as their own, and then you feed the bacteria. This is just how you amplify genes. So I loved all that work, and so I did that in college, and then so when I was applying, like maybe I knew I wasn't gonna like sales, and I'm like, but I knew I'd learn something from it. And I'm like, I'm gonna fucking turn over that stone. And plus, I'm in my early 20s. I gotta try it. I felt like after college in '90, and I took that year-long surf trip. I came back, and I just felt like I was really lost. I'm like, because I took that surf trip to be like, am I gonna stay in? I'm gonna do med school or do the art?
Yeah.
And then when I came back, my big plan was that I would go to med school, be a general practitioner on the fast route, okay? And work for 10 years, stack up some money, and then do my art and just skate. So that was my plan. And then I came back and I got a job at Baxter. And then I had no money left, right? Like after a year of surfing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I kind of didn't even I had postgraduate blues.
Yeah.
And I didn't even really have a direction. I'm at mom's house, which is like, I had lived at home since I left in 18 to go to my first year of college was Long Beach. And then the next 4 years was at UCSD. And so it was kind of like, when I came back and I'm like, oh, I want to do my art, from that surf trip. And then I got a lab technician job working at Baxter. And my job was to sequence, back in the day was like, it took all day to sequence a gene.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And so that was my job. And then I would read the polyacrylide gel and how you read, you've seen that.
Yeah, it's got to be tedious.
ACGT. And anyway, but it was like $11 an hour. I was getting nowhere. And then my mom and sister were making these mosaic tables because they collect pottery, and if it was broken, and they would find these old garden furniture and make these really beautiful tables. And I came back, I'm like, oh, I know how to do metalwork. Learned in high school. Yeah. So I took a course at OCC and I said, hey, I know how to weld. I just kind of want to use your facility. Is that cool? And the instructor's like, yeah, you can do that. Nice. So I did that. And then it was not conducive at all being creative. So I'm there to make dainty little cute, mosaic garden tables. But everybody else in the class were interested in welding their cracked axle. they're like fixing
cards.
like the head gasket,
Yeah.
welding the block and shit like that, and they're looking at me like I was a bloody poofta.
But
I made a few tables.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I tried peddling them in Corona Del Mar area. And people are like, oh, those are kind of, they weren't what the work that I was doing now. It was like much more simple, primitive, but they're a little bit different, right?
Yeah.
And like not receptive. In LA, they're like, who sent you? Does anybody famous own your work?
Yeah.
No. Okay, bye. Like you got nowhere. And then my hometown, they're too weird. And then I go to Laguna Beach, right?
I was going to say
art,
Laguna. They have that big art.
People are
kind
creative
of,
there. There's art
outdoor
galleries.
Isn't there the
Las Brisas, the museum there,
yeah.
Laguna Contemporary.
Yeah.
And all great. I love their shows.
And they have the outdoor market with all the different arts.
And like little garden shops and stuff.
Yeah.
So I go to there and like, and I start to make a little bit of headway. This guy's interested, this and that. I'm like, okay, cool. And then as I'm going further into it, I'm like, I think he's just interested in boning me. And that was true. I gave him another chance. I'm like, this is obvious now. I'm like, so I'm like, this is harder than I thought. So I bailed on that and I got that Baxter job. And then I'm like, God, I'm barely making any money. And then like, although the work was like very like intellectually stimulating, like it was a chimeric antibody that was like selective to breast cancer. My job is to make sure the gene, because they were splicing the murine, a mouse gene with a human gene. The mouse part is this, remember an antibody is like, it's got the dominant region, it's got the variable region. The variable is what attaches to the toxin and stuff. So that kind of stuff I love and I still like it, but it wasn't like, even there, my professor or the doctor, the PhD was like, you're more of an artist than a science. Like you're good at this, but you know what I mean? And then I go up to San Francisco. I did the biotech, the sales, and I make kick-ass money. Yeah. And then I spent it all applying to med school and taking the MCAT class and all that crap. Shit. Like, I'm in my my early 20s trying to figure it out. Like I have a lot of energy and I'm not gonna settle for something that's bullshit. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I'm here for a reason, and if I know this isn't the reason, then I'm moving on. Yeah. So I was a little bit relentless in that 3-year period where I went from one job to the next. I'm like, nope, I'm good at this, but it's not fulfilling to me. I thought saving lives would be fulfilling. Yeah. And then working in the hospital, they were the same way. You're more of an artist. Like, I don't think you're going to have the freedom as a doctor that you think. Like, so people were telling me who I was in San Francisco.
They could see it, but
I'm just trying to be a responsible guy, go to college. Like, I grew up with like water polo players. Yeah. We did our homework. We all did well in school, and you kind of follow suit. Like, you follow, and then when you become, and then you're out on your own after college, like, okay, what do I do now? And we have like, all right, we'll figure it out, dude.
Well, the path, like you think there's a path, right? Like you're like, oh, well, I need to do this. I have to do the responsible thing, make money.
Yeah, like a thoroughfare, and everyone's on this path.
Yeah, like, and then you realize, I don't have to stay on this path. So what was that moment? This
is not my path.
Yeah.
So for me, my mom, fully, when I moved to San Francisco, and I had all these revelations, like maybe I might be good at science and I could probably be a good doctor, but maybe this is a sign, and the biotech also, like and then being in San Francisco, and then suddenly I'm thinking, oh, it's foggy, it's probably crappy waves, and I'm like, whoa, the surf goes off up here. And then I had some of those tables that I made at OCC when I came back on that trip. And now it's like 2 years later, and that same relationship. I went up to San Francisco to kind of
get away.
To get her back.
Oh, yeah, that
because she kept kind of like, oh, you left on that trip, and now I have another boyfriend, and this is like,
wow.
And I felt guilty because it was a really good relationship. I left to soul search and sow my oats. And then the whole time I'm missing here like a loser. Like, it was so embarrassing, that it was just kind of like, you start to, as you go into like life, and then you put yourself in like struggling situations, you learn who you are. And if and traveling is so like that.
Yeah.
And it's really a mirror that you hold up by being so different from, whether it's the language you're speaking and the people you're around, a whole different culture. Like, you're like, whoa, you learn a lot. I think traveling should be one of those things like academia, like higher education, like, okay, now it's time to live abroad. And it's best if you don't know the language.
Yeah.
So you really struggle.
Well, now it's like it's so different because
you're talking to a thing.
You're talking to a phone or whatever, like it's you're not gonna mistake other people for speaking another language and randomly become friends with them, like us. But I think travel can be a great thing if you do it a certain way, and if you're thrown into some more uncomfortable positions, I think it's great. I think a lot of people travel and they just stay in the comfort zones,
for a lifetime, actually.
Yeah. And we will be right back. And now back to our show. Now, so you go up to San Francisco to pursue this girl.
Yeah. I mean, that was the driving force. Okay. Because I had to get closure.
Yeah.
I was obviously like hanging on for her, because I felt guilty that I threw away a really good thing.
Yeah.
And I'm young too, you know what I mean?
Like, when you're young, you don't know. You have no perspective.
You feel so deeply, right?
Yeah, you feel it because it's the first time maybe, but you don't think, oh, there's going to be more like this. You think, how could there be anything more than this?
Yeah.
That you're feeling.
Yeah.
God, it's like, I can't tell you how many times I've fallen so hard, and then when it doesn't work out, you're like, I'll never get that feeling again, Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I kind of I was finding that I was like really stuck on this, and lost too, because I knew there was something out there for me, not as far as like a woman or relationship, but and I didn't realize really that until after the fact.
Yeah.
Okay. But I was just like, I'm tired of this job. I'm going to go up to San Francisco and see what happens. My little sister was living there, and I could sleep on the couch. And then, while I wait to hear for secondary applications for medical school.
Right.
Okay. And then, so I go up there and I have closure because I knew she wasn't going to break up over new women. And so I needed that, be like, okay, cool then. And then finally that whole year that I was gone and the year and a half that I was back, I was kind of like hanging on a little bit, you know what I mean? And I learned a lot about myself, like, Ty, that's just who you are. You know what I mean? So it worked. I had closure, and now I'm in San Francisco, and the VA hospital is like really gnarly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm doing EKGs on homeless people that haven't bathed in months. But it was fucking cool helping these people and stuff. But
still wasn't fulfilling.
But the doctors you have more to offer as an artist. They're telling me that, right? And then I was working at Genentech at the same time.
Yeah.
And that was another lab tech job that was fully remedial.
Yeah.
So I got fired from that. I quit the hospital. I had no money. I'm driving out down Fulton to go surfing. My sister lived off Fulton, and to get I learned there's good waves. I just got to get you got to wear a 4.3 now, not a 3.2, and booties year round.
Yeah.
And so I'm driving out there. I'm telling you how I got into my path as a metal worker and as an artist. I'm driving out to San Francisco. Out to Ocean Beach, and I go by a garage sale, and it's not junk antiques. It's really weird, whimsical, looks like handmade furniture.
Wow.
And I've always when I travel to surf spots, I'm finding the art. In Bali, I'm like, Kuta. Oh my God. They're beautiful wood carvers, right?
Yeah.
But they make all the same Buddha, this, that, and touristy things. And I'm, yeah. And then you would stumble upon this little alley and a trippy little progressive, art gallery. And they're using the craft. In Morocco, I had the same experience.
Yeah.
They're using their craftsmanship and then expressing themselves as an artist, making really weird, different stuff, emaciated, disfigured, weird figures out of driftwood and leaving it half driftwood and then enhancing human elements that are really kind of tweaked and distorted like a huge phallus and like so gnarly. I'm like, yeah, like I love that. So moving to San Francisco was like, I had no idea that I was moving in such a creative zone. Like I always went there because my grandparents lived there and this and that, but like my parents didn't take us to art galleries. They just creatively, naturally creative, and like we weren't going to museums. They weren't educating us at all, you know? So I get to San Francisco and I'm going out to the surf spot. I see this and I go and I stop and I'm talking to the guy. It's fucking, he makes all this stuff himself. Like, is that legal? Are you allowed to do that? You know what I mean? Like, I'm thinking back growing up, like I never saw all this weird art, and this is 90s where there's a lot of artists and everyone, it doesn't matter what medium, they're pushing the envelope. Right. Like they're going hard and it's fucking weird, off the wall, anything goes. And then they have a support group. There's other people like them. And even though they're little cliques, you know what I mean? They all think they're super cool. They're all going hard, pushing themselves creatively. And I'm like, holy shit, I love this place. And then they're seeing my work and they're like, wow, dude, I love this work. Yeah. You should go even harder. You could go harder. I'm like, really? Okay, I could go harder. Like, hit the lip harder then, harder. Now lose your skags, in the air. You know what I mean? Like, I needed that encouragement. It wasn't just like, oh, it's accepted here. It's strongly encouraged. Yeah. Like, dude. And people in higher positions, who owned a store, a garden store, or like a one-of-a-kind furniture store, like Lim Pacific was amazing. And it was like all one of a kind. You don't see that growing up. It's all product that's bought and sold. Like, even though I grew up with the birth of the surf and skate industry, you know what I mean? And Corona Del Mar, like Newport in the 70s and 80s, like everybody, all my friends work for Quicksilver or whatever. And, you know, and you're just used to that. Everything's manufactured. And then you go to San Francisco, it's not only manufactured, but just this one guy is making this stuff. And it just blew my mind, dude. And it's just like, I immediately started they're like, well, those are cool tables. That guy, he's like, yeah, I've got a studio with 10 other artists in the China Basin. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, we just rented out a place and it's like a collective. I'm like, whoa, I'm hearing this all for the first time. And I'm like, okay, give me your number. I'm going back to SoCal for Christmas and I'm coming back. Okay, that was November 92. I'm like, fucking San Francisco's cool. I had no idea. Like, great waves. And then people, like, I could dress, in Bushwick, that I'm in my work clothes. Okay. I can go in brand new clothes. By the end of the day, I have burn holes, this and that. Like, it's just how it goes, and I'm not wearing a leather apron or a fucking jumpsuit and shit, And so so in Corona Del Mar, like, if I don't shave, or it's still like this, like, oh, you're a little bit radical looking or whatever, you don't look, you kind of getting this look. They're afraid of you for no reason. They don't, who are, and then you go to San Francisco, it's the opposite. Yeah. Like, who is this guy? You fucking artist, right? What do you make? The support was insane. And I immediately started like dating this woman who was in the apartment below my sister, and that turned really bad, but she's like, whoa, Ty, how about my friend Edward Salon? My friend Edward is opening up a hair salon. Dude, I just started. Okay. I don't even know how to, like, when I got the space, okay, like I come back and I called that guy with the wacky furniture on the way to the beach. And I'm like, hey, I want to come by your studio, this and that. And I left him a message. He doesn't get back to me. I'm like, oh, fuck. I really wanted to see their compound and like what they're doing. Tell me more, And then I finally had to like almost get aggro. Like, I just want to check it out. You know what I mean? Like, because like he kind of like, how cities are. There's so many, like, it's so transient, and you talk to everyone and like, I don't remember this guy, And it wasn't back then where you can Instagram. There was no background. It was all like, And so I finally, I just want to check it out. I've never seen anything like that. And if it's other artists like you, and I go, it was at China Basin. It was on Illinois. Okay. And, it was the old American Can building, which is literally 4 blocks long, humongous building, all art studios. And we had a loading dock, and it was like a real loading dock. And it was like a big space, couple thousand square feet. And it was like 10 10 metalwork artists.
Wow.
And I was like, everybody was making work that I didn't know was possible. Like one guy was doing figurative. Another person was doing these beautiful little garden tables. And I showed them the work that I made. You know? I don't know, like, and they're like, yeah, cool. And we just really hit it off, like totally on the same plane. Like they were like I'd known them my whole life or something. Like finally, you know what I mean? I found my people. I didn't go there to find my people. But once I got there, I'm like, wow, I'm really accepted here. People aren't afraid of me. This is like amazing. They're encouraging me to go harder. That's like music to my ears, you know? And the whole studio is like that. And I'm like, hey, what is it possible for me to get a space here or something? And they're like, well, you know what, Ty? There's somebody leaving, and her name is Ty.
Oh,
and
perfect.
She's leaving, and we don't have to learn a new name. So you're one of the guys is German from Bavaria, famous German sculptor. Yeah, I used to make fun of him. He was so funny when he would like try to do surf talk with his German accent. That's what he was happy that he'd have to learn a new name. And like to me, that was just like symbolic. Like this is the right thing, and that was it. That was like that's when I started, they not only turned me on to like, yes, you could do this and make a living. They're like sharing all their contacts. They're like, oh, you should go to Hayes Valley. They will love your little tables. And there's another garden store, you know, and off Pacific and this and that. And I would go, and of course they're going to take a cool little table for free on consignment. And you're happy to put it on consignment because even if it doesn't sell, people are like, whoa, who's making this? And then you get a curtain rod job or this job, you know? Yeah. And so, but at the start, I just, I rented the space for a week. Okay. And I got a couple commissions, and it was, it was like one was from, my ex-girlfriend's friend. Another one was their friends. And another one was for, you know, and it was kind of like, and so I went in, I had no tools, by the way. And so the guy that I met, Michael Edwards is a sign, like he making the wacky furniture out of his garage, selling it at his garage. He goes, well, you can rent my welder and grinder, you know, to make this work, you know, we'll do it this way. You know, I'm going to use it. And I'm like, and I paid for that, and I paid for the space. So I'll never forget that. I went there with a mission, you know, I had the studio for a week. Okay. And I didn't, you know, and I could use, and I rented the, you know, it's just like a MIG welder, hand grinder, chop saws, all you need really. And I made 5 tables, and 3 of them, I think 2 of them were sold, and I made another 3 extra, and it was just like, it was really awesome. And then the one table that I got hung up on, and this was another lesson of like how I just love San Francisco so much, and I learned so much, and it really opened up my life. You know, he goes, I was struggling with this commission because they gave me couple $100, like, and I'm new to this. I'm taking their money. I'm so glad they trust me. You know what I mean? And like, this is like early on, and now I'm trying to make their table. I got all the mosaic pieces, and really, there were mosaic, cast mosaic with beautiful pieces, and then I was making the frames. The metalwork was secondary, right? And I had the mosaic made, and I'm making the frame. Oh, you could do this, and you could do whatever you want. Okay, so tables are really basic, right? You have your frame that's going to hold the top, and then you have your 4 legs, and then you need some stability between the legs, some braces. So that's where I could get creative. And so now I'm racking my brain and like second guessing myself. These guys are so nice and so cool to trust me to make this table. And I'm like, I really want them to love this. I really want them to love this. Like, this is one of my first commissions that's not a friend, you know? And I'm like, and so like, I'm so like hell bent on making something perfect for them. I'm not making it at all. And I'm like really struggling.
You're getting
and
in
like
your
I
head.
never, you know, and I was never in like with art school. It's like, you get critiques, you run things off friend, and it's a cool kind of like communal, you know, effort, right? And so my friend, that Michael Edwards, he's like, okay. So I never forgot this. He goes, all right, these guys, they're hiring you to make what you think is cool. And they're trusting you, okay? So what that means, if you make it and you think it's cool, they're going to think it's cool.
Yeah.
So you don't think that you're making something for them, okay? You're making it they're hiring you to make it for yourself, for them. Okay. It's got to be the right dimensions and everything.
Yeah.
But like, I go, and so in other words, Ty, you do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you know what I mean? And it wasn't, oh, I'm really into straight lines. I love curves. I don't know. It's growing up as skateboarding and surfing, but there's no square turns, really, right? It's all curves, right? And so I started like, freeing myself up and like not giving them what Pottery Barn or Pier and Point was making, but like, oh, here's some like Tripoli style little lines. And like, and it was like, it seems like a simple thing for someone to be like, no, dude, fucking go hard. And it's up. And I realized that from there on out, like, hey, they want you to do you. They're hiring you to do you, and to me that didn't exist. You start a business and you're making it for a market.
You're making it for other people. You're trying to sell to other people. You're trying to please other people, and this is the opposite. This is making it for yourself and
for them,
but they want what your vision is.
Exactly.
Not what their vision is, what your vision is.
Right. Well, sometimes it is their vision.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
But when they're like, I want something one of a kind.
Yeah.
And then in San Francisco, especially in the 90s, I don't think it's like that anymore. I mean, it exists, like Bay Area, whatever. But it was like that. I forgot what I said.
Well, let me just say, it's like, I feel like, and from reading your SJ piece also, you really gravitate towards community and creative community. It's like a really, to me, this is, and from this story that you're telling me, like, this was like the way you kind of helped find yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like that's what I learned later on, the term chosen family.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really, in that creative community particularly is what can be used to inspire you and to drive you and push you, right? Like you even said, like these people were pushing each other to go harder.
Yeah, it's like somebody hooting on you on the way.
Yeah.
Even though you're gonna fuck up, like, oh shit, they're watching. You're like, dig a rail.
But it's an interesting thing. You came from that, and then you came to Brooklyn and New York, and like it seems like you've helped to create that yourself too and find that.
Right. Well, once I realized that this world existed, there's no way I was going back. And I said that to my mom like 6 months into it. I'm like, Mom, I found my path.
Yeah.
Like I know I'm 100% sure this is the route for me. Okay.
Yeah.
And even my that's my mom.
Yeah.
Right. And she's like, right on, Ty. That's excellent. She was right there, totally supportive.
Nice.
And then my dad, who wasn't supportive of medical school.
Yeah.
Oh, what? You want to do dermatology? Because I always had skin problems. And like pop people's zits for a living.
Dr.
He would say
Pimple
like,
Popper.
they were always kind of, my mom talked me out of the Boy Scouts, but my friends doing it. Like, you don't want to walk old lady across the street. My parents are funny now. Like they're like, so real in a way. But I mean, we all were very independent and they were supportive. And I had that unconditional support from my mom, and she knew this was it for me. You found it. I trust you, Ty. I hear you. And then my dad's all, oh, well, maybe med school wasn't a bad idea. If you want to apply again, and you really got to apply once, twice, I'll pay for it this time. He's going to pay for me to take that. I think he might have been just testing me or kind of testing himself. I don't know.
Well, I mean, he could have been scared, it's all of a sudden like, oh, my kid's going to be an artist and maybe have to.
Sure you want to do that?
Well, it sounds like he struggled with that,
Yeah.
and maybe he was trying to look out for you in that regard, you know? I mean, you are on the couch here. I mean, we could, if you want to lay down, we could like really go deep into this, but.
Oh yeah, we could go deep.
We could go deep. But
so of course I didn't apply to medical school, and like that was enough for him.
That was proving.
Like I'm like, committed. No way, I'm on it. And and then that's 10 years in San Francisco. Okay.
Gosh.
And as far as the collecting thing, so now I'm in a city. So what am I collecting? I'm collecting like little, bottle caps,
Yeah.
you know, like little pieces of things, and like a crushed thing that got run over 100 times in the street, like peculiar little items and artifacts and parts and pieces of something. And I was driving remember I said earlier, my station.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your Datsun.
that
not
was
the
my
Datsun.
first car,
That was your
my
first
Toyota
car.
truck.
Toyota.
I bought a new one.
Yeah.
In college. I was like, the old cars were really getting me down, but it was stripped. Like
Yeah.
it had nothing. And I loved it all through San Diego and San Francisco until it got stolen. And then the shell got stolen, and then I got it back. And then I was going snowboarding at 5 a.m. I pick up my friend and I see a car coming up behind me in the middle of the morning. Like it's like 4 a.m. And I'm like, oh, car's coming behind. Well, I guess they were drunk because they slammed into me.
No.
I was like slow-mo. We popped up into the air, totaled my truck.
Holy
Okay.
shit.
We're in the air and we both look at each other while we're in the air, and we're out, bam, bam, bam. We smashed into like 4 parked cars, and the guy kept going. He just clipped us. So oh man, that was hell. So I lost that truck, and we ended up going snowboarding. But it wasn't very fun. It was hard to get over that. But I got this little crappy BMW 2002, like 1971, total rust bucket, didn't work. And my friend's like, hey, I got this old car in a lot, doesn't work. It's got an oil leak. Maybe you could fix it and you could drive it. I'm like, okay. And so I did. I was able to weld up a little thing, and I fixed it. And so I got that little, and now, because I had a new truck, always getting screwed with this and that. Now I had the shittiest little, fucking, like, you didn't even know it was a BMW.
Yeah.
Everything was rubbed off and
Yeah.
Love that car.
Yeah.
People stayed away from you on the street. They assumed you didn't have insurance. Okay. I could park anywhere, and like no one screwed. I could take the tiniest little spot. You know, both bumpers were off, so it was even shorter, you know? Then I was like collecting all these like weird artifacts that I found off the street.
And you'd leave them in there?
Yeah, and I'd leave them in there and a bunch of other shit. So the homeless wouldn't even go in because it didn't lock it. And they wouldn't even go in there and sleep. So I was like, I learned how to survive in the city for sure. I love that car. It made me realize like how kind of like liberating it is to not have a precious vehicle in a city.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
you don't even notice you ever have a dent, and everyone stays away from you. It's freaking like fuck. Learn a lesson.
Makes a difference when it's not so precious.
Yeah.
You know, when oh God, like having like an expensive car in the city is like heartbreaking. You know,
It really ruins you. Like you worry about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it causes anxiety. You know, so that you're saying, when did I get into like, you know, in Morocco in Mundaka, we had that beautiful villa and 8 bedrooms. So of course, one of the bedrooms was my art studio, which you remember seeing.
Yes.
And to get back to that, Mundaka, okay, founded in 1,000 years ago.
Yeah.
Imagine the rusted artifacts I'm finding
gosh.
at low tide on the inside there, past the
that
wall.
Sandbar too, even
Oh my God, I found so many great artifacts. And then the Europe's very clean, right?
Yeah.
You're not finding a lot of garbage on the street, but you'd find like little parts of kids' toys out of their candy and this and that. And I think you remember seeing a lot of these little colorful, and then I'm combining it with like rusted artifacts that are 500 years old. And
I remember like a sardine tin you had. It was almost like framed, you know, like the tin was like, it was an empty rusted out sardine tin, and you had like bottle cap in there and a couple other items, and it was almost like a mini diorama almost, you know?
Yeah, and it's like marked by time.
Yeah.
Those things and that's what I love about found object. They're dated. These objects are from a specific moment, and then you utilize them kind of in a way where you could still relish its past life. I didn't paint over it. Maybe I drilled a tiny little hole in it, but I want you to see that. I want you to see what it was before and how it's transformed by combining it with other objects. And that little studio and the villa was awesome. It was so great. And to me, that was an extension of my experience in San Francisco. Like I got that metal studio and I'm doing custom metal work. And I got like right off 6 months into it, I'm doing all the furniture for a new hair salon.
Wow.
Like it just fell in my lap. Of course, I bid it really badly. I barely made any money, but it was a portfolio piece.
Yeah.
And I got one job and I got another job. I got into the stores. Like, dude, out of nowhere, I was making a living doing custom metalwork and with my artistic expression,
Amazing.
which I kind of developed in college doing lost wax jewelry, which was an extension course. and that's like all the sculpture and the art that I took at UCSD. I didn't find my signature. I didn't hear my voice. I was just making good art for the assignment, right?
Yeah.
And it's like maybe you could see my style a little bit, but it wasn't the point. Like you make something out of clay, and I made a dead black widow that was like 20 times the size with its legs curled in. Like that's, you know what I mean? And so like so San Francisco was really opened me up creatively. Okay. And it was metalwork was the medium, and I was doing functional stuff like in developing a furniture line. Really. Yeah. I did probably hundreds of beds and coffee tables and stuff like that. And I started kind of getting bored with it. Like I was doing high-end, fine furniture and doing trade shows like the ICFF in 95, 96, the Chicago Design Show, San Francisco. I was doing the whole circuit, press kits, getting press, like, and I was wholesaling, manufacturing Tripoli Designs, like furniture line called the Tavarua line, which I didn't get to surf Tavarua.
Oh.
I surfed Nimatu and Wilkes Pass, but you had to stay at Tavarua.
Stay at the time.
It was like $200 a night, and I'm like, I could afford it. I was so bummed I didn't go. Grudgigan was like that too in Indo. I didn't surf Grudgigan because I didn't have the money.
Oh, bummer.
I know these
I got
lefts.
G-Land,
I know Cloud Break.
Oh. But I mean, it remains that thing that inspired you though. And got to inspire your line then.
I still recognize Grudgigan when I see videos. I'm like, damn you. That barrel, it just keeps going. And they're all relaxed in the barrel. It's not like Mundaka. You get too far beyond the curtain, it swallows you.
No, you can hold
ride
it.
that one.
You can stall out a little.
Yeah, that's what I see.
Put your arm in
Setting up.
Yeah, you know where it's going to be.
That reef looks shallow.
I surfed it. It was,
not so
man.
shallow.
I watched a guy. I met this guy. He
shredded
whole side of his body.
I bet
shredded. He ate it on the takeoff, and they had to give him like a shit ton of ketamine to calm him down. It was pretty bad.
Oh my god!
Yeah. So I always wore reef booties. So
right.
But
in Fiji, there's a lot of that too.
Oh my god! Well, Fiji, forget about it. Like that's a whole nother level. Like. My buddy Ashton got raked across restaurants. It's brutal.
Oh, yeah.
So, but I mean, now you can use it as inspiration, for your lines,
Well, like when I was doing the French, like I named all the ones that I was producing. I have in brochures. I named it because you got to have it in a price list.
Yeah.
Like they're all like the Piha Ottoman. I said the Hamilton bed because
sounds great.
The Hamilton bed.
Good.
I want to call it the Raglan.
Yeah,
Raglan blend because like I got Raglan. We're so good, and I'm like, God, that's just not a really pleasant sounding word. And so Hamilton is the last city that you hit before you get into Raglan. So I
thought it was after Laird. I thought you named it after Laird.
Oh no!
It's a bed frame big enough for Laird.
I never thought of that. Oh, that's so funny. Oh, see how I ruined the art?
No, it's good. It's totally good. Or you could have done Manu Bay, the intersection, the Manu Bay collection. That's inside of Raglan. That's fucking cool, though. I mean, it sounds like it really took off for you. And then
it did like the furniture business and stuff. And I was inspired by other people that are even more ambitious than me.
Yeah.
Like, oh, whoa, we make press kits. Okay. And I'm, you know what I mean? Like that's how you learn. And that's how I learned metalwork because I wanted to.
Yeah.
And when there was something I couldn't do, okay, there was other metalworker like standard sheet metal.
Yeah.
I bet they still exist. And dude, when I would go there and order my thing with me, I was all eyes and ears.
Yeah.
Like I would walk by a table and I'd see a guy doing something. And I'm like, fuck, that's how you do that. Yeah. Oh my God. How easy. You just fucking bend it back. Like, oh, I see. Once you weld it, you put all this heat, it's going to distort. So you give it a couple of hits with the hammer. Simple shit.
Yeah.
And like, I taught myself metalwork and I knew, you know what I mean? And then I grew gradually. I got a couple good commissions. So I bought my own grinder.
Yeah.
And then I got a better commission. I had a few $100. I bought my own welder.
Yeah.
So eventually, like in my first studio with like I'm not mentioning their names, Niels Kruger, Tammy Bickle, and Michael Edwards. Like those three, I swear, opened
Shout out.
Like, yeah, absolutely. I hope you're listening because they in San Francisco, a special place in my heart forever. Right.
Yeah.
I feel like if I never made it there, I would have never really realized like
Your
that
potential.
because I'm like pretty stubborn, you know what I mean? And I'm going to do what I'm going to do, like Sicilian style.
I was just going to say.
Yeah. You know, and of course, right? Like I don't, you just don't give a shit. Right. But when you have the support of your community, dude, it's fucking awesome. Right? Like I don't,
Makes
you know what I mean? And
huge
everything in New York is a fight, right? It can be or a struggle, but I feel like in San Francisco it was my first taste of like a support where I never thought there was support. And when I moved from there to Bushwick, it was like San Francisco in the 90s. It was still like that support among ours, not so much of a crab crawl, you know what I mean?
So what was that motivation coming to New York? Because I remember you were even saying, like, when we met in Mundaka in 2002, you're like, oh, we're going to be moving to New York. We're moving there, And I remember you even said that. And I was like, oh, awesome.
Dude, are you sure you want to do that? Like,
yeah, I was like, the waves are, I mean, it's cool. Like, but...
Well, I wasn't... I had surfed a few times at Rockaway, and I was like...
It gets good.
Yeah, I mean, and I grew up surfing Newport, the same jetties, same distance between them and the same length. I'm like, I know this spot. And I'm like, whoa, it's actually even better shape than Newport. Newport might be a little bit punchier, but like, shoot, right off the jetty at low tide, it's plenty punchy.
Yeah.
And then, and so I would not have even agreed for a second to move here if it wasn't surfing.
Yeah.
Like the ocean is really important to me. And I think what it was like that, my partner at the time, she grew up in San Francisco, Bay Area, and that's where we met. And then this was at the end of my San Francisco, like now it's 99. That's when we met. And I started getting bored with kind of the furniture and the furniture business. And I'm sending my work all over. Like I have 4 stores in the United States, and wow, dude, it becomes a lot of business, shipping, this and that. And I was like, and it wasn't as creative.
Did it feel like it almost got built up too much?
No, I didn't build it up too much. But as I was getting deeper in it, I was realizing where most of your attention needs to go if you want to have a successful business. And it's not in design.
Yeah.
It's kind of more in
business.
Yeah. In every aspect of it. And I just found that I'm more on the creative side where like I'd rather go high end and one of a kind and really push myself creatively than like figure out how to have my line made in Managua, Nicaragua, which is my fantasy, right? And I have to go surf Nicaragua if I can make sure quality control and then fill up a container and ship it back to San Francisco. I was going through all that in my head. And I'm like, is that how you want to spend your time? I love the idea of going, but it's not going to be that. Now I'm storing tables and you know what I mean? It's like...
It's less creative process.
You're more business.
With logistics and all these other things.
Exactly. And for some people, that's where they want to resonate and they feel good. And that's their creative thing. For me, it was like not where I want to spend my time. And so I kind of started to pull out of that in 99, 2001. And that's why I applied to the San Francisco Refuse and Recycle for their art residency. A few of my friends did it, and they're like, Ty, you should do it. They fucking pay you really well. You have a huge studio. You with a full-on, full-scale wood shop, metal shop, glass slumping, everything. And they pay you well. You get a budget for the opening, photography, promotion, like you open account on the hardware store, like buy whatever you want. It was fucking, you're treated like a rock star.
Yeah.
Okay. And then even the best part, public disposal. This is San Francisco dump, which is really, they're number one in recycling.
Nice.
Back in the 90s, like way ahead of anywhere else in America. And so you have the public disposal where you get the best stuff because it hasn't been like plastered over by the trucks and this and that and full of like food gross garbage and stuff. But you have access to the whole facility, which is like 60,000 tons a day coming through. So it's, as a creative person and visually, fucking blows your mind, dude. Like I still, the energy that you witnessed in Morocco was fresh.
Yeah.
I was coming out of that residency and totally disenchanted with metalwork and custom metalwork and my Tripoli designs, like making that like a brand of furniture brand, like Tiffany and Company or something, like these fantasies I had. I'm like, and I took that. So I'm in this residency and they're like, and it was competitive to get it. There was like 100 applicants and they picked 3 people. I'm like, whoa, I never win anything. and all I had to show was my pretty furniture and my blown glass that I started doing in 99, which is very unique, but still it's Murano style. And so that's what I submitted to them. And I go, oh, whoa, wait a minute. So do you expect me to collect metal and make tables and stuff, or how does this work out?
Like do whatever you want, right?
Yeah, and whatever you want. The most important thing is that you show up, you're here, and you're scavenging. And the most important thing is that you're in the studio when the tour comes by, which happens almost every day. And these are tours of like high school, adult tours, private tours. Like every day you have these tours and they tour the facility. Amazing. And it ends with the sculpture garden, which I made a huge like 10-foot wave out of like, I don't know, a couple hundred tires that I strung together, metal rod, because I'm a metal worker, right?
Yeah.
Like, and so for me, and as working on commissions, like it behooves me to make the piece as fast as possible because I'm bidding it. Okay. Yeah. I'm not charging by the hour. I'm not charging them by the hour. So the faster I make it, the more I make, So when I went into this residency, I'm not like dilly dally. I'm fucking hitting it hard. And then they said, you could do whatever you want. And I'm like, really? I can just do straight up fine art? Like weird, whatever you want, Ty, seriously, And like, again, I need conditions like that to fully, and then I'll explode, you know? And like, I think to this day, I made more work than any other artist. Wow. Like in 3 months, I made 100 pieces.
Holy
and
shit.
Like, and the woman I'm dating now, she loves that body work. Ty, I love this work. And I'm like, I go, you know what? That's like going to a part of the world that's unlike any other part. And then you're a plein air painter and you're painting. Yeah. Like, that work was unique to that moment. This is 2001. It was 1 week after the towers came down.
Yeah.
Dude, the world was fucking upside down.
Yeah.
Like first of all, the .com bomb, right? The brownout, okay? Yeah. I lost some of my commissions. They're like, sorry, Ty, I had to pay $100,000 on taxes on money I didn't even make. Oh, they were charging, the government said, you got to pay the tax before you get the money. And then they never got the money. No. So everybody, and then like artists were losing their workspaces, like to buy a warehouse in the early 90s, it was probably $200,000. When I left in 2002, it was 20 million.
Wow.
Like it was a huge change. And like Silicon Valley, all like the cool .comers came in and like, oh, cool artists of this cool thing, kick us out and take it and put them in offices.
Yep.
And like, it was horrendous, dude. Everybody, all my friends were going to Portland, Seattle, LA, or New York.
Yeah.
And it was just like, that's how it was, And so now like that residency at the dump just blew my mind. I was like using like little dolls, pieces of plastic. I'd find a spool of rubber, a black neoprene. Yeah, that's the one in the Surfer's Journal, that black rubber. Yeah. Like that is industrial neoprene belt that they use in submarines for the gasket and shit like that. Like stuff that you wouldn't even think of buying as an artist because you're not in that world. It's in your face at the dump.
And it's like what do you do
every
with
fucking
it?
day, And I think the thing that was the most well received at that residency was like, you have a huge space, right? And I was collecting, and I'm collecting, like I grew up antiquing, so anything that looked like that, I was on it, Yeah. But I collected everything. I definitely wasn't only collecting metal. It was kind of anything that caught my eye. And so just in my collection would catch other people's eye, like, whoa, this is stuff that was chosen. Like that's already the art. Just picking it up off the street and making the choice. Like this is no longer refuse. This is now art materials. And like just that, calling it art material or like decontextualizing that object from being on the street, lost, useless, a burden to society. It's needed. Yeah. And now it's like value. It's like valuable. Like art materials that have value now, and you make it into something. And I think that's what you were seeing in Mundaka. Like I was still writing that way, but it doesn't matter where you fucking put me. I'm going to find shit and put it together and create assemblage and combinations and just go with it, you know? And then in Morocco, the garbage was really great, right? Like, dude, it was plastic is amazing.
It was incredible. It was a gold mine.
It really was.
I mean,
nature did it.
It really was. Like you could go, like, especially, you know, down to Agadir, there was like a couple beaches where it was sad and kind of tragic, you know, seeing so much plastic waste washing up on the beaches there.
You realize that shit travels.
It's crazy.
You know what I mean? Like it doesn't. It's like you. I grew up thinking, you know, trash is where people dropped it. You know what I mean? And like I never really thought of it as traveling. Okay, until I went to Costa Rica, and this is in the 90s. You know, before it was too popular, and you had to go through streams and off road, and I finally get to this beach. And the beach is just littered with 1,000,000 plastic bottles. Right. And I was just like, oh my God, there aren't enough people. I didn't pass enough people the last 100 miles to create this garbage. Yeah. And it's like, oh, well, there's a hurricane. And so this washed up and then washed up. I'm like, holy shit. Yeah. And, you know, and that's what I wrote about. That's 98. Okay. And that's what I put in my statement when I applied for the San Francisco art residency. Yeah. The dump, like that. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I think that's what got me the residency. And I wasn't trying to find myself again. I'm just kind of mixing it up. You know what I mean? Like, and I think surfing's kind of like that, right? Like, fucking that sandbar's too crowded. Yeah. I'm going to go surf this thing that looks like maybe it's doable. You know what I mean? I approach art like that. Let's just do this. It's about doing it. Like, I get a good wave. I didn't get a good wave. You know what I mean? And when you surf competitive spots, like, in America or Australia, and all the good spots are taken and it's so crowded and you don't feel like fucking fighting and for waves, you go to a shitty spot. Yeah. And it just means you got to be more creative. Like, dude, back in the day, they weren't surfing slabs. Now there's beautiful slabs. All are like, how about that one? I think it's in Australia. Is it the box where they're dropping down, and they have to get ready for the little fucking mini wave over the dry reef?
Like ship sterns, and then there's
they
hours.
Jump over that and land it and jump over that. And luckily they have foot straps. It makes it easier, but it's just so funny. Like if people don't call skateboarding and surfing an art, it's like, you're an idiot. Well, it's like, dude, there's so much creativity involved, and then it's spontaneous, and it's like you're riding an avalanche on a snowboard. It's like there's no right answer.
Do you? And we will be right back. And now back to our show. Do you? One, view your work then as having an environmental message at all when it comes to the refuse stuff? Like, is that ever in your consciousness when you're doing it, or you're just like, I'm finding this and I'm making this and I'm not really thinking about a statement?
Well, you know, I call myself an environmentalist now. Yeah. You know, because I'm probably the only metal worker in Bushwick who really, truly likes welding people's chairs back together. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. Like, I'm all about the right to repair. Yeah. Like, I feel like when we living in the economy that we are now, it's all about the new, the new. Like, to sell parts for this thing, we're not going to make money. We're going to make money if that thing breaks and they buy a new one. Right. Like, that fucking mentality really bugs me. Yeah. You know, because that's not how nature works. And if we want to like prevail, like, we got to mimic nature. Nature does it perfectly. You have a tree, it drops its leaf straight down, and there you have all these beautiful microbes, bacteria, fungus, you know, and small organisms that eat it up, and they shit out beautiful nutrients for your roots to feed the tree. Like, dude, they're not packaging that shit up in a black bag and taking it to landfill and recycling the blah blah. Like, we're so far from living sustainably, it's laughable. You know?
It's crazy.
So me doing my part and being cool with fixing people's broken stuff, like, I'm all about that. Like I make $20 off the weld, dude. It's definitely not worth my time, and it's probably even distracting me from like hitting it big with my art career.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or like getting that job that is lucrative. But for me, like, and I say like, no, don't worry about it, because they're all apologetic. I know it's a small job, this and that, and you're an artist and blah, blah. I'm like, I fucking love that respect, but really, I'm into it. And, you know, and I'll be in Bushwick and someone that I don't come up and be like, you don't know me, but like when I moved here 8 years ago, I just want to tell you, like you made me feel so welcome. Like I came to your studio and I said, hey, I just moved here and my chair that I've had for 15 years is broken. Can you weld it for me? I'm like, yeah, if it's steel and it's thick enough, I can weld it for you. And so he does that. 8 years later, he's like still thanking me for it. Like, it's so cool. Cause like, I feel like, you know, I'm just inherently like environmentally conscious. So when you say, when I'm making my work out of my found plastic and stuff, I'm not thinking of the environment at all.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about like how these shapes
go
fit together. And then how the subject or the past life of these objects fit together in concept. Like, that's what I'm tripping on. And I've actually been like slapped a little bit because that's my focus. Like, I'm not, you know, it's like you surf a wave. There's a million ways to surf it, but there is probably the best wave, the best way to surf it, right? And to me, it's the longest, or you know, the most maneuvers or whatever it is. We all measure it differently, but I think it's
yeah. I mean, well, I think it's an inherent thing for you. You know, it's something that you just naturally do without having to.
It's not part of this conversation. Yeah. It's like it's just who I am. Like,
it's not like you're like some people will do an art piece with the environmental message front and center.
And it's didactic in your face, and it's actually a little bit dismal because those issues are really.
Well, do you think they take away from the whimsicalness then of some of the work? Like your work, I would describe as whimsical, playful. You know, there's a childlike element to it, and I would say that it you know, by putting that meaning to it, takes away from that playfulness, maybe. Yeah,
I mean, as far as like having, you know, I mean, I'll say like in the materials that it's recycled or whatever. Or it's found or collected. It's all kind of the same for me. But what I meant about like the environmental, like I forget about how environmental this work is.
Yeah.
This series is. I forget about that because for me to make my work, I'm not thinking about that.
Yeah.
Because it is already. You know, we already know that. Like when I picked it up, it's there. So now I'm focused on how they come together. So I'm so focused on that because that, to me, that's where I get to witness this thing that's going to be made. I get to witness it first. You know what I mean? Like I'm playing God in a way. I'm making these decisions and making an organism. And I really want to, like, just surfing a wave. You're not having a conversation over the top of the wave while you're riding it. Like, you ride it or you don't. You know what I mean? Like, and so what I'm a part of this group. It's called Project Vortex, and Aurora Robson started it probably early 2000. A Bushwick artist. She's now upstate. Great artist. Uses found plastics, you know, either from the beach or plastic bottles, caps. But she's cutting them and painting them, and they look like these beautiful sea creatures. You know, like a lionfish kind of. Yeah, that kind of. And like really beautiful. And you know it's found. It's like recycled material, but totally different me. She's using pigment. Yeah. She's cutting pieces. Like for me, these are puzzle pieces. You don't cut it to fit.
You're letting them exist as they are.
Yeah, as nature brought them to me. Yeah. And that's the process in it. Like I'm just doing that because to me that's important as a builder. Every time you add a weld or a gride or a cut, it costs more money because it costs more time. That's how I bid jobs. So the most efficient use of refuse is to not do anything to it. No bag that it goes in, no truck that takes it to the factory that pellets it. And then they take the pellets and those go to a heat injection mold factory where then they melt it down and make your product. Like, that's a lot of steps involved to just
lot of energy
recycle.
Also.
Right. You know, and like we're not there yet. Right. So this Project Vortex is really a great concept. It was based on this vortex is the huge plastic gyre floating in the Pacific.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's real, right?
Yes.
And so her concept was to form a network of artists all over the world that can access this this floating art material and make art from it and do exhibitions and to create a community based on that. This is before it became like really mainstream, which is I'm all for it, right? We can't.
Yeah.
And I love, and people send me all the time, like a big whale made out of plastic materials.
Yeah.
And, it's representational, which I never do. But like, fuck yeah, that's awesome.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, however you want to use that shit. Like, to me, like, I have a website, Waste is Resource, and I mean it. There's no such thing as waste. We just how smart and creative you are to use it.
Exactly.
And I'm talking like emissions too, coming out of a factory. And I think every aspect of our manufacturing should be fully like.
Well, it should be circular. It should totally be, like everything should feed back into itself almost. You know?
I feel like if we're going to get packaging from the store, okay, then we should have a hole in our wall where the packaging goes in and it fuels our house. You know
or
what I mean?
insulates it.
Yeah. I think I have found that. They do that.
Some peanuts behind the wall there,
That's so funny. I think some builders do that. My friend found a newspaper from the 1800s.
Yeah.
It's like old wall. So this Project Vortex, we did a bunch of expeditions and shows here and there. And so I think it was the Ice House.
Yeah.
And it was, what's the college?
What? I don't know.
It's a college in New Jersey. And
Rutgers?
no,
Yeah. No.
I forget. It's a tricky name. It's a private school.
Okay.
And so anyway, we went there, we did the show, and then we had a symposium. And so each of the artists has work. They go up there and they talk in the auditorium about their work. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm talking and I'm telling them about my process, right? About how like all the objects that I find, I use them as is, like they're puzzle pieces. And the idea is to use adhesive sucks. It always gets brittle and breaks, So I'm like using screws, but I'm buying screws and I'm drilling a hole, you know what I mean? So I'm like working towards, utilizing the objects as fullest as possible with the least amount of work, but the most transformation. So anyway, I'm going on and on about how, like when I'm creating like a two-dimensional assemblage piece and how I'm approaching it like a painting, and I'm finding, and these are shells and they're puzzle pieces and I'm assembling them together and this and that. I'm going on like how my brain process, how I creating these marriages and how it grows into a big sprawling, three-dimensional piece, or a flat kind of more assemblage painting that's on up a wood panel and it's a rectangle like a painting. And so I'm making that connection between painting and the objects. And then someone from the audience raises their hand and it's like, so where and how do you find your materials? How does it relate to the environment? It was so funny. Like I just fully got tangential on the process because that's where my mind is at. Like how I'm reading a wave and why I decided to erase that section and then do a lip, do an off lip under the lip, but still keep like a speed lip.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean? Like all these decisions.
And they're like,
didn't want to hear that,
where'd you surf?
And I just had
where were you surfing?
Exactly. I just want to know the spot. And I'm like, oh my God, thanks for getting me back on track. So I'm such an environmentalist, I don't even know to talk about it. I'm like, of course, I'm finding it off the street, my objects. I'm not collecting everything, I use my post-consumer refuse.
Yeah.
I'm not keeping everything. I'm keeping the pretty colors and the nice shapes that I like. And so I love circles. So any colored cap, I'm keeping, a shampoo bottle where the label came off and I like this cream as a cool shape. So I'm kind of like, as a consumer, I always have a little bag that I'm putting, my recycle here, my garbage here, my compost there, and then my recycled, my art materials here. And then I take that to my studio and then I sort it into
I was gonna ask
orange
how
caps, like circular metal here, the white here, like textiles here. And so, and that in San Francisco doing that residency, people were blown away with my library. I call it like a visual library of objects. And that's kind of like the first thing you saw in Mundaka in my studio. You're like you didn't see the art pieces. You saw my materials all sorted. Cause it's just like, dude, you're like going to a weird candy store. And this is like, oh, these are stuff that you find on the street, but it's organized like it's valuable materials. Just that recontextualizing is huge.
It sounds fucking cool, actually. Like there was a picture of it in the Surfer's Journal too, of your studio, and you could see the different bins. And I was like kind of curious about that, like what that must inside those bins, what they must look like, and finding like what we call trash or whatever refuse, that we find, and then seeing it organized in such a nice, clean, neat way, I think it gives a lot of people a new way of viewing it.
Right.
And like you
Just
said,
that.
it's your material. It's your creative material instead of something that was discarded.
Yeah. And, and on Instagram, I love making that comment.
Yeah.
When people like, like I have, her name's Wendy Kemperner. She's a great metal sculptor and representational animals and stuff, like, but rough and crude, but fucking perfect. And too, like a really great, like renderer.
Yeah.
Right? Great artist. And she'll have a truck come with all twisted rebar. She doesn't, of course she bends her own when she's got to get it a certain shape.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I'm like, yeah, art materials. To some people, it's a bunch of junk rusted metal. Yeah. And I'm like, art materials. I know what you're going to make out of that. And it's just like, just recognizing that, you get a smile on people's faces because it is that, And I think I'm intrigued with just the potential of like, like surfing. I think it's like the ultimate sport, dude. Like, how can we even do that? How is that possible? You know what I mean?
It is.
And it's like, and I feel so lucky, but really the wave doesn't you don't make an appointment and you go out there like you're just playing on that wave, and it's not really letting you. Yeah. You're kind of like sneaking on it. You know what I mean? You're getting away with it. You know what I mean? We go through a lot. Like you could surf 3 hours and I got one wave and it fucking ate me alive. It sucks. You know what I mean? Like it's really fleeting. Like there's a lot of struggle and work. And then you get like 5 seconds of standing on water and you're feeling great for a week. It's so trippy. And I kind of have that same sensation with art. And it doesn't, not even just me making it, but like my mom even said that, like, I'll be like uptight, anxious, bothered, bad mood. And then and this is in Corona Del Mar, right? Yeah. Orange County, like people are looking at me again. What? You know what I mean? And we go to a sculpture garden and like suddenly like everything's like, and my mom's like, God, you're so much more relaxed. And this is my mom, knows me better than anyone, like my favorite person in the world, right? Mm-hmm. And it's just like night and day to her. Like I guess it's just like resonating in that potential and then utilizing it. It's just like feels really good. And even just going out and looking at art, like yesterday, went to a new zone in it was like still East Village, but it was more Chinatown towards, I don't know that area very well, but like we went to 7 new galleries and they're all so happy to have a conversation with us. You know what I mean? And it's just like, I'm always fighting with my girlfriend, she's strong-willed minded too. I'm like, and it's fine. You know what I mean? We learn a lot from each other. It's fucking awesome. Right? Get like your wave beats the shit out of you, right? And I'm a stronger person. I survive. Yeah. And so and we had such a good time, and it's fucking art, dude. People are making art for the love of it, and that vibration goes into it. And it's there's art careers, and a lot of people are making it for a living, and you kind of feel that, and and that's fine too. Yeah. You know what I mean? I don't think money ruins art. That's just energy too that you can kind of put into something and make it more. But I feel like. And it's your comment about like, I'm really into community. Like I don't think so. But then when I look at my past, I'm like, fuck yeah, dude. Yeah. You did an artist owned gallery in San Francisco too. And all your studio mates are talking you out of it. No, you're making work for us. And then we're not going to sell anything, not making a living. And I'm like, yeah, why do I want to do this? Why do I want to try to sell other people's work? I got to sell my own. And like, I don't know, dude. It is like that. It's community, and it goes deeper than the bottom line.
Now, let's talk about Gallery Petite then, because this is something you've helped to create a community, and help to foster that.
Yeah.
And to, I imagine part of that motivation is to use it as motivation for yourself.
No.
It's
for myself, just for my jollies.
Yeah, well, the community, inspires you.
Yeah, and as far as like a conscious motivation, I feel like it took me into my mid-20s to like resonate in my community and who I was as a person and my purpose in life. I felt like that was a long time. And now I realize people go a lifetime, dude. Like I'm lucky to find it then, But at that time, I was like, this sucks, man. I feel like a loser jumping from one job to the next, but I'm not willing to compromise.
Yeah.
I want to be fulfilled every day. You know what I mean? And I want it in my package. I want it on my time. You know what I mean? And it was just like, I couldn't even, growing up where I grew up, there was no job for me. Like, I don't, what am I going to do? You know what I mean? I was not, the obvious was, surf industry. You know what I mean? Like surf for a living. This and that. I'm like, no way.
No.
I love it too much. I do not want to make the beach my job. And as a water polo player, like they were all lifeguards and you get paid kick-ass money. I'm like, and I thought about it for 2 seconds. Wait, pumping hurricane swell and I'm upset. Now I got to sit in a lifeguard, watch the waves and save people. Instead of like, I'm going to work in a dinner house. So I never work during the day. And I surf my brains out. And the worst thing that happens is when you lean over to like fill up somebody's glass of water, you get post-nasal drip in their plate.
Yes, guilty as charged. That has
but
happened.
The manager surfs too, so he just laughs like, dude, come on.
Would you like some salt water with your salad?
I go, it's not snot. It's not snot.
It's salt.
It's just salt water straight from the ocean. It's called post-nasal drip. It's okay. It's actually sterile.
But when did Gallery Petite open then?
Gallery Petite was something that I didn't want to do. My friends are like, you should just open a gallery just for a little bit.
Yeah.
And I knew I was going to get swept up into it. But really, when we bought that property in 2006, the 2-car garage was my sculpture studio.
Yeah.
And then we had a rental and we lived up to this upstairs apartment and I like really put my heart and soul into that space for 18 years,
Wow.
18 years later. And so that space was first my studio, and with a lot of my found plastic, real sprawling kind of 3-dimensional work that I did I called it a toy sculpture in 2004 for the Brooklyn Waterfront Artist Coalition, the Dumbo sculpture show that was from the 80s all the way up until 2010. I think she asked me to curate it, Ursula Clark and Richard Brackman, and that was awesome. So I had that big piece that I did in 2004 that I swear I probably had 6 studios where I lugged all that on top of my car here and there and up this, installed it. Oh my God. So that was that. So that the space of Gallery Petite was first that spot. All my stuff that I had here and there came to that space, and that was my sculpture studio. And then I started, when I moved to New York, of course, I wanted to just do the plastic constructions and fine art and get a gallery and do all that. And not do the metal work because it's such hard work. With custom work, it's hard to get ahead. You're always reinventing the wheel, which is intriguing. And I love pushing my imagination and my skills, but it's not so good for the pocketbook. It's easier to make money when you keep doing the same thing and you fine tune it. But then that's not what I'm into. You know what I mean? Now I'm bored, So that was my studio. And then I was still doing the custom work, and it started to grow and get bigger commissions like these tree guards that I'm doing. That was 2007. And I got a commission doing all of Wyckoff and did like 20 of them. And so I needed a bigger studio. And when we were talking earlier about, I'm moving to New York, it wasn't like I was not going for the surf, but I knew there's waves, so I was safe. But I was going for the art adventure. And it was really that residency at the tail end of my like furniture, metalwork thing. and doing that residency. And then that's where we met in Mundaka. And I'm
Yeah.
like riding that wave. I actually keep thinking that wave's going to end, but it's not.
No.
Like I'm still intrigued with that series, the plastic constructions.
Yeah.
It's like I love curvy lines, and metal is perfect for holding curves and being structural, like using weird shaped disparate objects and having them flow together like a beautiful flowing wave is almost impossible. So it's kept my attention, So I moved into I got a space like almost across the street, like one block over, and I still have my studio there, and that's on Troutman. That's my workspace, and Gallery Petite is on Wilson Avenue. And so I moved my studio to Troutman, and it was much bigger and more, 13-foot ceilings, 800 square feet. And it's also a garage. So I pull my car in, 20-foot lengths. It's like ground floor. Perfect. Okay. And so then I moved my studio there. So then it was storage. Okay. And then my partner wanted to start a preschool, like all art, outdoor based, and fun, play, outdoor, and Bushwick really needed it. And I had all my plastic stuff, which was like a romper room, still in there. I separated it. That was only my plastic in Gallery Petite space. And then my studio was the metalwork. And then she started a school, and then quickly grew it into an apartment. Now it's a commercial thing. Like, she does it really well, 10 years later. And so after the school, it became storage. And then I thought of highlighting my metalwork and doing these beautiful metal and glass storefronts and creating rental income. Yeah. Right. And, so then I created those beautiful storefronts, like really as to just kind of spotlight my metalwork and to, and then when I created it, I go to a gallery and I had one gallery front up, and I could afford the glass. It was like $1,000 for the glass. And then Bushwick Open Studios was coming. And this is, I guess, 2016 or 15 or something. And a curator wanted to do a show in the gallery, but what about the glass? I'm like, well, if you pay for the glass, you could have it for the weekend.
Nice.
And she did the first show in Gallery Petite. It was so great. And she literally took that money, and I was able to buy the glass. And so then that was the first show. And she even got the Instagram for it, Gallery Petite Instagram, and Facebook too. But I'm not super big social media guy. I'm getting better at it. Anyway, so that's how the gallery started. I kind of reluctantly did the gallery because I know it's hard to sell artwork. Yeah. And then in the end, I'm not really commercial. Yeah. I can't not show work that is beautifully unusual and authentically them. To me, that's just amazing, where it'd be like, wow, I've never seen this. I don't even have to like it. Just, it has a lot of energy, and it's definitely, they're doing them. I just have respect for that, and it grows on me indefinitely. It really does. And so I started, the space, Gallery Petite really, and I'm kind of thinking in retrospect now, and in San Francisco from 92 with that group, and we have a space with Tammy Bickle. I stayed with her. We got Melting Point, and it's the old Hams Brewery. We got it in 95, and I was there until 2002, and she's still there. Nice. And I have a bunch of art and an apartment I built out, and I was a part of it until only 10 years ago or 5. Wow. You know what I mean? But kind of absentee owner. Yeah. And she does it all, and it's so awesome. But so we developed a part of the space that was the base of the silo tower. Yeah. And it's 900 square feet, and it's got the weirdest ceiling, where the conal ceiling, and where they would store the hops all the way up. And I knew punk rockers that were there in the 80s squatting the building, and they would belay down into the silos above the gallery. This building is freaking amazing, dude. And when you say, why didn't you move back to San Francisco, which you weren't saying that, but I left the best studio I've ever had in my life. Like that studio, it's still there. I'm pretty sure I have a lot of stuff there. And it's like 5,000 square feet. It's the machine room of the old Hams Brewery by the Seal Stadium. It's the only one that's not redone. Bomb explosion proof switches, one man elevator with holes in the floor, super dangerous. But we got plate steel and we covered the holes. We fixed hundreds of little factory windows. We did it all ourselves. Like in the main spot, when you walk in, there's catwalks, there's 60-foot ceilings, and there's painters on the top that look down, and you can have conversation 3 floors up, yelling. Like, it's really an awesome space. And it was there that we named it Melting Point Art and Design Studios and Melting Point Gallery, and we were curating group shows, and it was just like, it was such an extension of our family and our community, and showing and like having pop-ups really didn't exist then. And so I call it, it's an artist-owned gallery, which means we do what we want. Like it's not about selling work and paying rent. It's about showing work that's we think is amazing and giving, underrepresented artists a voice, right? And I think, Tyler, in a nutshell, that's what it's about for me. Like, I grew up in a place where you didn't have wacky artists displaying their freak flag for everyone to walk by and be like, whoa, you guys are doing weird shit. Because if it did exist, like, the city cracks down like it didn't exist, And in San Diego too, what exists is like a fucking whacked out board shaper. You know what I mean? And they're doing like an airbrush. You know, like that's what you saw. We're making our own skateboards. You know what I mean? And shit like that. And so Melting Point was like that realization for me that like this is a voice for artists that really don't have, they're not going, they're not in the big gallery, they're not carried by the big galleries, they're not in museums, and so when I started Gallery Petite, same exact thing, and it was just like it's really about kind of like, here, I'll tell you this way. Like, we're right next to a middle school, okay? And we've been there for 18 years, okay? Like, I do snow sculptures in front of the house, and of course the kids destroy them.
Of course.
And I don't even care anymore. It gives me, I get to now make it better, and I run down there and make it better. You know what I mean? It sucks when the dog pees on it, though, because you're like, oh, hi, pee. You know what I mean? And so anyway, being next to that high school, like, that's 18 years. So you have a 15-year-old that would walk by
your work.
My work in the neighborhood, or me skateboarding with my kids, or my whacked out little gallery, definitely showing weird work that's not commercial. And during fire drills, there's 1,000 kids walking by that, you know what I mean? And like, they're going to school. And like, I was a little freaked to like, because there would be fights right there in the corner. And, usually it was a cat fight, like super gnarly cops coming and stuff. Like, I mean, the neighborhood was not cool. Like, 10 years ago, like a shooting gallery across the street, which means it's like a heroin den, and they are in the basement, and they're like, China, yelling China white to come down and sound like all night, like, oh my God, So it's not, it's way different now. But really, it was kind of like, I wish that when I grew up, I walked by some weird little space like that, so I knew like that this exists. You know what I mean? I seriously thought something like that would be illegal. You're not allowed to do that, And then I moved to San Francisco, and it's like status quo. And then moving to Bushwick, it was kind of like the same vibe. I rode that same wave, and so opening up Gallery Petite, it's the same thing. It's kind of like I did it for the people that are like me that needed to see that there's a world that exists outside of like this whole kind of like what you see and hear and, and what the adults want you to do. You know what I mean? It's almost like punk rock in the 80s, going to shows in LA as a water polo player in high school, and like that anti-establishment and, fuck the man, you know what I mean? And it's just like like to me, I kind of never grew out of that. Like to me, I really resonate with that. Like not that I'm individualistic, because obviously I'm not. I'm like, these galleries cost me money, but it's like, yeah, at 56, I'm like, why am I doing this? I'm like,
because you're punk.
Yeah,
because you're punk, though, because that's in your DNA.
Yeah, I feel like that's it. And you know, and I know, and now I like 15 years later, I go to the surf bar across the street, and it's all surf and skate videos, and I'm not a big drinker, but I fucking, you know, I'm in by myself. I go surf by myself. I make my art by myself. Like, I mean, I go in and out of having an assistant or a crew or whatever. It's project based, but like for the most part, I need a social hour. So I'll do like a coffee thing. Like even in San Francisco, I live at my space. I'd go away for coffee, come back, and every day you see the same people. Even if they're an introvert and they don't want to talk to you, you're gonna be something's gonna come up. Yeah, and then after a while, you have a friend, and it's just kind of. It's cool. It's real. It's like, that's how life goes. But if you sit on your ass in the privacy of your space or your car from A to B, like, I feel like that's the difference between LA and New York. Like even though, you know, you walk around in Corona where I grew up, like the mentality wasn't like worldly.
It's isolated. And whereas here you're forced to engage. Yeah. You know?
Exactly. And you're engaging with like total foreign material. Like, no, you don't relate at all, except you're in the same place, you know, like language, culture, look, or anything. And I feel like that's why I do these artist-owned galleries. It's just to pick up that pull on the left, I guess. You know, now the left and right is like so politically based, but I feel like, you know, how do you have a gallery and not be commercial? How do you pay for it? You know, and the way artists do it, I've seen in Bushwick and in San Francisco, the same thing. You have studios in the back and you have your show space in the front. Exactly. Now you show whatever you want. You got to subsidize it somehow. So, you know, and so with Gallery Petite, it's the same way. You know, I'll Airbnb this space and then subsidize the gallery space. You know, I'm not against commerce, not at all. I just, you know, I know where I'd like to resonate and feel good. You know what I mean? And but selling your friend's work feels really good. But man, it's a mission. It's a mission. You unless you're kind of like, you know, you're rubbing elbows with people with the wherewithal and they're all your buddy and they trust you and they have no art sense and they fully trust you. But then it's cool, right? Then you're just naturally an art dealer and you're, you know, and but like to me, it's really important to go with that natural flow, right? With a wave, it doesn't do what you say. You can't make it do anything. You have to work with it, you know. And I kind of like feel that's like my approach is the same way with the gallery, and you know, and when that ends, which will probably be soon, you know, within the next 6 months, I'm probably gonna do it in my studio space. Yeah. It's actually a much bigger gallery. Yeah. You know, like Gallery Petite is seriously small. It's got that, you know, a 19-foot wall, 10 feet high. Intimate. Yeah, it is. And it's intimate yet highly exposed. It's not a suite up on the second floor. You're right on the street. In fact, you could be in your car and see the show. You know, stopped at the light. And I like that. And it's kind of, and it's such a unique, you know, storefront. It looks like it was imported from Paris or something a long time ago. It's because it's made the old way, right? And it's just like it ended up being kind of like a gateway for like-minded people. Like they see it from across the street, they double take and like almost hurt their neck, and they cross the street and they're like, "What's going on there?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, look what I made!" Like it's like I didn't put art. I just made a really thoughtful storefront, you know, and then and it's bringing the right people. It's Bushwick, you know, and it's becoming more of a destination. I feel like it was more art based 10 years ago with the Bushwick Open Studios, but you know, there's ebb and flow to it. And I don't think I'll ever not have like an artist-owned gallery in that way, you know what I mean? And maybe someday I'll be in a position where like I actually can place all the work. Yeah, you know, that would be amazing. But I'm not gonna kill myself over that. You know what I mean? Like it's first things first. You know what I mean? Like, and but it does feel like you're shooting yourself in the foot or banging your head against the wall because like, everything's going up and costing more, and so you end up getting pushed out in the end, but like,
oh, then you end up in Rockaway maybe or somewhere.
I want to, Tyler, and I would already, but then when I run it by my kids, they're like, oh, so how long is it going to take me to get to school? And they're seriously adding 45 minutes to their subway ride.
Oh, gosh,
and I know, like, for me, I'd be like, cool, I got 45 minutes to finish my homework on the way to school. Because you're not driving, you're not riding
you're
your
on the
bike.
Subway.
Yeah, you're being chauffeured by the man.
Yeah. Well, Tyrone, I am so stoked you were able to join me here. We've been. I think it's time to go check the surf. To be honest.
Oh, really?
But where can our listeners find you? What are the best places to go check out your work and Gallery Petite?
Well,
here's your chance to plug.
I love my Tripoli Designs website because it highlights my decorative metalwork going all the way back to the 90s. The problem with that website is it's hard to keep it updated, so it's not really super updated for my everyday and updated. I feel like it's a good cross section of my life is my Instagram, like my kind of a personal one, and that's Ty Tripoli.
Ty Tripoli.
Yeah.
At Ty Tripoli on Insta.
Yeah.
And I think it's time for us to go check the surf, because I think the waves might be getting fun. And listeners, thank you for listening. We really appreciate it. And definitely don't forget to check out at Swell Season Surf Radio. And you can also go to www.swellseasonsurfradio.com, and we have transcripts from the interview up there, and I'll have notes with Ty's work, and you can go check that out. And we'll see you all down the line soon.
Africano, clandestino, marijuana ilegal. Solo voy con mi pena, sola va mi condena, correré mi destino.